Doraemon's daily check-in system. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101. Destroy the Fourth Order. The Corpse King attacks. Clang. Nobi Daichi was grabbed by the 4th level zombie and retreated several steps. As for the pain, it didn't hurt, but it made Nobi Daichi's blood boil. When the 4th level zombie grabbed him and retreated, Nobi Daichi's vigilance was raised to the highest level. After seeing Nobi Daichi being grabbed by it, the 4th level zombie rushed towards Nobi Daichi again and stretched out its claws emitting cold light to grab Nobi Daichi. Seeing this, Nobi Daichi instinctively punched the 4th level zombie and collided with the claws of the 4th level zombie. Although the 4th level zombie was not knocked away by Nobi Daichi's punch like the 3rd level zombie, it also retreated more than 10 steps. The 4th level zombie seemed to know that it could not match Nobi Daichi in strength, so it did not rush towards Nobi Daichi like before. Instead, it rushed behind Nobi Daichi and grabbed Nobi Daichi with a few jumps. Although Nobi Daichi instinctively turned around, that was all. Although his strength in this world, after wearing the Emperor Armor and transforming into the Emperor Warrior, was enough to rank 5th, it was easy to deal with a zombie that was only 4th level. But Nobi Daichi only inherited the power, speed, etc. of the Emperor Armor. But he had no actual combat experience at all, and he couldn't quickly deal with even a 4th level zombie that was 1 level lower than him. Of course, it's not that he couldn't deal with 4th level zombies. It was still easy to deal with the 4th level zombie in front of Nobi Daichi. If the zombie in front of Nobi Daichi was just an ordinary 4th level zombie, it would take Nobi Daichi more effort to deal with it than to kill the 3rd level zombie. But the 4th level zombie that appeared in front of Nobi Daichi was not just a 4th level zombie. The 4th level zombie that appeared in front of Nobi Daichi was a relatively rare mutant zombie among zombies. According to the speed it had shown before, which was comparable to that of a 5th level zombie, it was a 4th level speed mutant zombie. Nobi Daichi, who had no combat experience, was caught back several steps by the 4th order speed mutant zombie. It seemed that he was afraid of the 4th order speed mutant zombie, or it was the 4th order zombie's order. A large open space was cleared around Nobi Daichi and the 4th order speed mutant zombie. The other ordinary zombies bypassed Nobi Daichi and the 4th order speed mutant zombie and continued to move towards the exit of the canyon. Nobi Daichi was caught back by the 4th order speed mutant zombie again. He also knew that he could not go head to head with the 4th order speed mutant zombie in front of him, which was obviously stronger than the previous 3rd order zombie. What's more, he almost had no combat experience. After all, he had used the Emperor Armor to eliminate the enemy several times before, and they were all crushing victories. As for experience, it didn't exist. It was not like he was facing an opponent who seemed to be evenly matched now. Therefore, after being caught back by the 4th order speed mutant zombie, Nobi Daichi changed his previous combat methods. Instead of rushing directly towards the 4th order speed mutant zombie, he took a few steps back. Although only a few steps, it was a distance of dozens of meters. Then he turned and rushed in another direction. Seeing this, the 4th order speed mutant zombie did not hesitate and rushed directly towards Nobi Daichi. In the eyes of the 4th order speed mutant zombie, Nobi Daichi must want to escape. Therefore, facing such a human who wants to escape, what reason does he have not to take advantage of the situation to chase? However, does Nobi Daichi really want to escape? Of course not to mention whether he can really get rid of the pursuit of the 4th order speed mutant zombie with a speed similar to his. Moreover, so far, based on the strength of the 4th order speed mutant zombie attacking him several times before, Nobi Daichi was at most scratched by the 4th order speed mutant zombie. Of course, this is the result of him standing still and letting the 4th order speed mutant zombie attack him. It is impossible to kill him. But how could he stand still and let the 4th order speed mutant zombie attack him? The 4th order speed mutant zombie quickly caught up with Nobi Daichi. The speed at which Nobi Daichi transformed into Emperor Man was actually almost the same as that of the 4th order speed mutant zombie. Logically, he should not have been caught up by the 4th order speed mutant so quickly. It goes without saying that the 4th order speed mutant zombie caught up with Nobi Daichi so quickly. All of this was a plan that Nobi Daichi came up with temporarily. The speed he was showing now was only 1/3 of the full speed of Emperor Man. When the 4th order speed mutant zombie caught up with Nobi Daichi and was about to grab Nobi Daichi with one claw, the 4th order speed mutant zombie was stunned. Because Nobi Daichi disappeared directly in front of him, his claw of course grabbed nothing, and he only grabbed the afterimage left by Nobi Daichi. Strange, where is that human? As soon as the 4th order speed mutant zombie had this idea in his mind, he felt a deadly danger from behind. When the 4th order speed mutant zombie reacted, Nobi Daichi had already punched the 4th order speed mutant zombie's head. Nobi Daichi thought that this punch would definitely be enough to smash the 4th order speed mutant zombie's head to pieces. Who would have thought that the 4th order speed mutant zombie actually dodged Nobi Daichi's attack by tilting its head? Nobi Daichi's punch certainly missed, but he didn't want to give up this good opportunity, this good time. Because he couldn't guarantee that this 4th order speed mutant zombie would be fooled again after suffering a big loss. Therefore, after the punch missed, Nobi Daichi quickly stretched back his hand that was punching the 4th order speed mutant zombie, and then grabbed the 4th order speed mutant zombie's shoulder and threw it to the ground below. Bang! A big pit was instantly thrown out on the ground, and the 4th order speed mutant zombie was thrown directly to the ground. Nobi Daichi was afraid that this 4th order speed mutant zombie would have other changes. Therefore, after seeing that the 4th order speed mutant zombie was only a little dizzy from the fall, he grabbed the 4th order speed mutant zombie's shoulders and swung the 4th order speed mutant zombie in his hand again. Boom. 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 After swinging it more than 10 times and seeing that the 4th order speed mutant zombie was no longer a corpse, Nobi Daichi finally felt relieved and then crushed the 4th order speed mutant zombie's head with one foot. It's not that he didn't want to crush the 4th order speed mutant zombie's head directly before, but at that time the 4th order speed mutant zombie still had some resistance. In addition, Nobi Daichi still had some concerns about it. It was so fast, but why was its attack power so weak? Chapter 102 Shuriken, EXIU. Is it a trick? It's better to be careful. After being knocked unconscious, he couldn't use any tricks. Thinking of this, there was the scene where Nobi Daichi threw the 4th order speed mutant zombie wildly. After seeing that he finally killed the 4th order speed mutant zombie, Nobi Daichi breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed simple for him to kill the 4th order speed mutant zombie just now, but it was linked together. Of course, the main reason was that the 4th order speed mutant zombie was careless. Although the 4th order speed mutant zombie had some consciousness. But after all, it did not have the complete human wisdom like the high-level zombies. After killing the 4th order speed mutant zombie, the ordinary zombies around rushed towards Nobi Daichi again. After the previous battle with high tension, Nobi Daichi was a little tired and didn't want to entangle with these zombies anymore. So Nobi Daichi jumped up and ran towards the exit of the canyon. Seeing that Nobi Daichi was about to rush out of the canyon. At this time, Nobi Daichi felt an unprecedented sense of crisis from behind. It's over, there's no way to escape. This was the last thought of Nobi Daichi when he was blown away and almost fell into a coma. Before he fell into a coma, Nobi Daichi looked at the place where he was just now and vaguely saw a figure slowly rising into the sky. Shixi looked at Nobi Daichi who fell into a coma after being hit by his random punch and couldn't help but be furious. He actually killed his right-hand man, the 4th order speed mutant zombie. Although he was already a 7th order king level strongman, he was just an ordinary zombie. If he could train that 4th order speed mutant zombie well, maybe he would be able to reach a high level in the future. But now all of this was destroyed by Nobi Daichi. How could he not be angry? The reason why he didn't kill Nobi Daichi directly just now was because he didn't want Nobi Daichi to die so easily. He wanted to torture Nobi Daichi to death. When thinking about torturing Nobi Daichi, Shizizi laughed. Although it was a laugh, the viciousness in it made people tremble all over. After all, when it comes to torturing people, he is second in the zombie empire, and no one dares to claim to be the first. After Nobi Daichi was knocked away by Shizi's punch, due to the serious injury, the Emperor Armor was directly disassembled. Shizi looked at Nobi Daichi, who took off the Emperor Armor and transformed into a child. Although he was a little confused, he didn't care too much. After he tortured Nobi Daichi well, I believe he will know everything. After Nobi Daichi landed and the Emperor Armor was disassembled, he was not attacked by ordinary zombies or higher level zombies around him. On the contrary, a very large open space was vacated around Nobi Daichi, and of course, all of this was ordered by Shizi. After all, these hundreds of thousands of zombies are led by him, and this time he led the zombie army to do a very important thing. Before leaving, the higher-ups specifically asked him to complete this task quickly, otherwise he would definitely be severely punished. However, what Nobi Daichi did now obviously made him extremely angry, so he could only slow down a bit. Of course, he would not delay the important things above. Now he just took Nobi Daichi with him. He would deal with Nobi Daichi's affairs. After completing the tasks assigned by the above, he could obviously distinguish the priorities of things as he could become a 7th level strongman. Then he quickly flew to Nobi Daichi, but when Nobi Daichi was about to fall into his clutches, a figure flashed in front of Shizi's eyes, and then Nobi Daichi disappeared on the spot. Shizi looked up at the young man in black casual clothes standing in the air. The figure just now was the young man standing in the air, and Nobi Daichi was being grabbed by the young man's shirt. Seeing this, Shizi also rose into the air, and finally rose to a height higher than the young man in casual clothes. Seeing this, the young man in casual clothes did not care, and also rose a little to the same height as Shizi. Seeing this, Shizi stopped making trouble and asked coldly, "Give the child in your hand to me, and I will not bother with you. Otherwise." Shizi said coldly, feeling the young man in casual clothes in front of him who was not weaker than him in momentum. He did not want to have any intersection with the young man in casual clothes in front of him. As for fighting, at their height, if they fight, the degree of destruction is no joke. The hundreds of thousands of zombies below will probably suffer a lot of losses. Of course, it is not unbearable, but it is not worth it just for a child. Although the human empire and the zombie empire tacitly agreed that high-level strongmen cannot attack ordinary zombies and humans. If the aftermath of the battle between him and the young man in casual clothes destroyed the zombie army in the canyon, he would have no choice but to accept it. After all, they have done too many such things before. The young man in casual clothes did not answer Shizi's words, but said another sentence. "Go ahead." Hearing the words of the young man in casual clothes, Shizi was directly angry and laughed. "Okay, but not here," Shizi said coldly. "Forget it, I'm leaving first," the young man in casual clothes said, carrying Nobi Daichi and planning to leave here. Looking at the young man in casual clothes like this, Shizi was really furious. At this moment, forget about the mission, the loss of the zombie army, and the orders from above. He just wanted to kill the young man in casual clothes in front of him. The young man in casual clothes with his back to Shizi felt the murderous aura coming from behind him, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. However, this smile was only a flash, and the next moment he had returned to calm. When Shixi's attack was about to attack the young man in casual clothes, the young man in casual clothes carrying Nobi Daichi disappeared from the spot in an instant. Shixi's attack failed as expected. Shizi was not surprised by this. If a king-level strongman could be killed so easily, how could he be called a king? The young man in casual clothes didn't seem to want to waste too much time here, so he used a killing move. As soon as he made a move, a big knife appeared out of thin air in the hands of the young man in casual clothes, and then the big knife was covered with a layer of blood red light. The young man in casual clothes slashed at the corpse evil with a seemingly careless knife. The corpse evil felt an unprecedented sense of deadly danger coming towards him. This was the first time he felt such a deadly sense of danger since he grew from a weakling to a 7th level strongman. Without any hesitation, almost the moment the young man in casual clothes swung his sword, a bone spur emitting a black glow appeared in the hand of the corpse evil. The young man in casual clothes seemed to swing his sword slowly, but it was extremely fast. The corpse evil had no time to instinctively block the bone spur upwards. When the young man in casual clothes' sword was about to touch the corpse evil's black bone spur, a long voice came into the corpse evil's ears. "Remember, the one who kills you. King Shura. EXIU. Chapter 103 The Brutal Three Emperors. EXIU's broadsword and Cheesy's black bone spur finally touched each other. The blood red light on the broadsword and the dark light on the bone spur shone brightly at the moment of collision. Although Cheesy knew that the casual dressed young man in front of him was much stronger than him, that was just a pure feeling. When his bone spur really collided with the broadsword of the casual dressed young man in front of him, Cheesy realized that he had underestimated EXIU's strength. Boom. There was no doubt that Cheesy was directly blown to the ground. With Cheesy as the center, the ground within a radius of dozens of meters collapsed directly, splashing up dust. At the same time, the aftermath of the battle that spread from Cheesy swept the zombies within dozens of meters around, and thousands of zombies were directly shattered by the scattered sword energy. In short, death. But EXIU hesitated slightly, because although the limbs of Cheesy lying on the ground below were damaged, and the breath was reduced to the extreme at once, but Cheesy was not dead. In EXIU's opinion, even if he did not use his full strength, the sword just now also used 50% of his strength. It stands to reason that killing a corpse evil who has just entered the 7th level should be no pressure, even if he really has something to save his life. After all, the knife he just used is enough to kill an ordinary high-level king-level strongman. You have to know that he is a high-level king-level strongman. With his special physique, he can easily kill ordinary peak king level strongmen with a Shura sword. Even ordinary 8th level emperor level strongman can resist a little. This is going to be fun. EXIU muttered to himself, and then he flew towards the corpse evil below with the big knife. Human boy, I admit defeat this time, but you just wait for the revenge of the bloodthirsty master. The corpse evil looked at EXIU flying towards him from the sky, and his blood red eyes flashed with strange colors, and were full of hatred, and he said angrily. He knew that he could not escape this time no matter what. Just now, with his companion weapon, the black bone spur, he had a breath left, and did not die immediately. But after suffering a powerful knife from EXIU, his black bone spur had been broken into several pieces. The one who sent him to complete the mission this time was the Bloodthirsty Lord, a real big shot. Bloodthirsty Lord, the powerful corpse king. Although he was doomed to die this time, he couldn't let EXIU have an easy time. Thinking so, then the corpse evil was suddenly covered with a circle of black light. Not good. Seeing this scene, EXIU's face changed slightly. Then a circle of light yellow light enveloped EXIU, and at the same time, he retreated to the back at a high speed. But before he retreated a few steps, he heard a huge explosion from the back. Boom. With the corpse evil as the center, the ground with a radius of several hundred meters collapsed directly into a big pit. EXIU was naturally affected by the shock wave of the corpse evil's self-explosion, but he was only blown away a few steps by the shock wave, and it was not a big deal. Because it was an indiscriminate attack, the corpse evil's self-explosion naturally killed a lot of zombies. Looking at the zombie army that had lost a large number of zombies in an instant, EXIU couldn't help but sigh. The zombie clan is really cruel, and they don't even let their own people go. After seeing that there were no other abnormalities below, EXIU's sword disappeared directly in his hand. Then EXIU carried Nobi Daichi and flew towards the canyon exit. This is a large palace main hall. From the palace shape, it is almost the same as human buildings, but the whole palace is blood red. Some people say that the building materials of this palace are blood red, and some people say that this palace was originally a normal golden color, but it was dyed blood red by human blood. However, no one knows whether it is true or not, because even among the zombies, only the king level and above strong can enter this blood red palace. If it weren't for the human emperor leading the human strongmen to kill here, I'm afraid the entire human race would not know that there is such a palace. At this time, there are 3 zombies that are no different from humans sitting on 3 blood-colored stone chairs in a triangle in the palace hall. These 3 zombies that are no different from humans have a title in the human race: the 3 brutal emperors. The 3 corpses once secretly infiltrated the human race, and the 3 corpses alone killed millions of human beings. This was a huge loss for the human race, which only had more than 100 million left at that time. The human emperor was furious. When the 3 corpse emperors of the corpse clan killed millions of humans and wanted to leave happily, he attacked them in a rage. That day was recorded in the history of the entire human race. A momentum that could even make the heavens tremble erupted from the imperial capital, and then a golden hand that covered the sky and the sun appeared out of thin air thousands of miles above the 3 corpse emperors of the Corpse Clan. The momentum emitted by the golden hand alone made the 3 corpse emperors of the Corpse Clan unable to move, and as the golden hand approached, the 3 corpse emperors began to fall apart. Seeing that the 3 corpse emperors of the Corpse Clan were about to die, a blood red hand also appeared out of thin air above the 3 corpse emperors, and then collided with the golden hand of the human emperor. The 2 attacks that were enough to destroy the world dissipated. Then the 3 corpse emperors disappeared out of thin air. It was said that they disappeared out of thin air, but in fact everyone knew that it was the corpse emperor who took them away. It was a pity that the human emperor was in the imperial capital and could not show up. After that painful lesson, the human race began to build a giant city. At this time, in the Blood Red Palace, the 3 corpse kings sitting on the blood red chairs were talking about something. Suddenly, a sound transmission note paper appeared out of thin air in the hand of one of the middle-aged men in a blood red robe. The runes on the sound transmission note paper flashed a few times, and then the sound transmission note paper turned into ashes. Then the middle-aged man's face became gloomy. "What's wrong, Bloodthirsty?" Seeing Bloodthirsty's face suddenly become gloomy, the other 2 people asked with a little curiosity. "Some accidents have occurred in the plan," Bloodthirsty said with a bad look. "What?" Hearing Bloodthirsty's words, the faces of the other 2 corpse kings also changed suddenly. "This mission is very important, and no mistakes can be allowed. After all, this is related to the Corpse King. What's the situation?" The other 2 corpse kings asked after calming down. "Shixi is dead." Hearing this, the other 2 corpse kings showed some doubts. Shixi is just an ordinary king level zombie. For people like them, it's dead. It's no big deal. Why did Bloodthirsty have such a big overreaction? After hearing what Zixu said next, the other 2 corpse kings showed a look of realization. "Before Shixi died, he told me that the one who killed him was Yexiu, the Shura king of the human race." When he said this, Zixu frowned for a moment, but soon relaxed. Although Yexiu was a titled king level expert, it was easy for an emperor level expert like him to deal with him. Chapter 104 8 years. There are many king level masters in both the human race and the corpse race, but few of them have titles. The human race has only 18. Those who can be crowned as kings are all beings with great potential and strength. Among more than 100 million humans, only 18 of the tens of thousands of king level masters have been crowned. Of course, this is only on the surface. As for whether there are still people who can fight against the titled king level masters in secret, it is unknown. But there is no doubt that the king level masters who can be crowned are definitely not weak among the king level masters. This plan will take several years. At this point, Bloodthirsty paused. Although it doesn't matter if it's a few days earlier or later, it's better to complete it earlier. So, I decided to do it myself this time. This. Hearing Bloodthirsty say that he would do it himself, the other 2 corpse kings of the corpse race were stunned and looked at Bloodthirsty in surprise. Because this is really unnecessary. After all, the corpse race also has a titled corpse king. Just send one directly. This plan is too important, so I just sent a corpse king to go there casually, just to avoid attracting attention. I didn't expect that an accident would happen. In order to prevent Shura King Yexiu from finding any clues based on the corpse tide, I'd better go there in person. After saying that, the figure of Bloodthirsty disappeared on the blood-colored stone chair. After hearing what Bloodthirsty said just now, the other 2 corpse kings did not stop the corpse evil, but continued to discuss the topic that had not been discussed before. When Nobi Daichi woke up, he found himself lying on a wooden bed in a room full of modern atmosphere and covered with a quilt. The corpse evil only beat Nobi Daichi to sleep, and Nobi Daichi was not injured, so Nobi Daichi directly lifted the quilt and climbed up. Where is this? Who saved me again? Several questions popped up in Nobi Daichi's mind. As for being caught, Nobi Daichi would never have such an idea. If he was caught, would he still be able to lie on the bed safely? Would the enemy be so kind? But before he had time to think about it, he saw a girl wearing a blue long-sleeved top and jeans pushing the door open. It was indeed a girl, and she looked only about 17 or 18 years old. Are you awake? Seeing Nobi Daichi wake up and sit on the bed, the girl said happily, who are you? Where is this place? Nobi Daichi looked at the girl in front of him and asked his questions directly. This is. After hearing Nobi Daichi's question, the girl was interrupted by a voice behind her. This is Shuriken City. Shuriken City is. Forget it. Let's just leave it at that. If I say too much, you won't know. Yiming, do you still remember me? Seeing the inexplicable look on Yi Xiu's face, Nobi Daichi felt embarrassed unconsciously. Yiming. This name he casually gave at the beginning actually appeared in his ears again. He didn't expect that the second mission world would be the continuation of the first mission world, but seeing the vicissitudes of life on Yi Xiu's face, considering that Yi Xiu was able to save him, his strength must be extraordinary. Although Nobi Daichi didn't know how powerful Yi Xiu was, he was at least much stronger than when he transformed into Emperor Man. Therefore, Nobi Daichi estimated that it had been quite a while since he last came to this world. Of course, this was just a guess by Nobi Daichi. Since Yi Xiu and a strange girl were in front of him, it was not convenient for Nobi Daichi to check the system task information. If he had looked at the system task information panel, he probably wouldn't have guessed so much in his mind. Many thoughts emerged in Nobi Daichi's mind, but in reality, Nobi Daichi greeted Yi Xiu. Of course I remember, Yi Xiu. Long time no see. After Yi Xiu heard what Nobi Daichi said, a smile suddenly appeared on his face. The girl next to him couldn't help but open her mouth wide in astonishment. Shuriken, Yi Xiu. He smiled so brightly and harmlessly. If other people in Shuriken City saw it, they would probably be shocked. It's not that Yi Xiu doesn't want to laugh, but he wants to establish his own authority in Shuriken City, so he rarely laughs. Even if he laughs, in the eyes of ordinary people, it means that someone is definitely going to be unlucky. Shuriken, Yi Xiu. What is Shura? Fighting through the mountains of corpses and seas of blood without dying, the enemy is terrified when he hears his name. This is Shura. Yi Xiu's reputation as Shura is not given by the world, but he killed step by step with his own sword. Yi Xiu. Who is she? Nobi Daichi pointed at the girl standing next to the two and asked. Yi Xiu didn't care that Nobi Daichi called his name directly, but looked at Nobi Daichi mischievously. You don't even know her. She is Xiaolinger. But that's right. After all, girls change a lot when they grow up. What? She is Xiaolinger? Nobi Daichi was really surprised. Has it been so long since he last came? He was just guessing before, but now he is sure. The Yi Xiu who appeared in front of Nobi Daichi now is almost the same as the Yi Xiu that Nobi Daichi saw when he came last time. His appearance has hardly changed, except that his face has become more mature in vicissitudes. Therefore, even if Nobi Daichi suspected that it had been quite a while since he last came, he thought it would not be too long. But when he saw that Xiaolinger, who was the same age as him, was almost an adult, he realized that it might not have been more than 1 or 2 years since he last came. Xiaolinger stood next to Yi Xiu and Nobi Daichi, looking at Nobi Daichi who had hardly grown up in 8 years. Her eyes were full of curiosity. She had too many questions in her heart to ask Nobi Daichi, but because Yi Xiu was standing next to her, she was too embarrassed to ask. Xiaolinger, go out first. Yiming and I have something to say. Yi Xiu turned to Xiaolinger who was standing next to him. Okay. Xiaolinger responded obediently, and then left the house, closing the door before leaving. There was a table in the room, and there were a few stools next to the table. Yi Xiu invited Nobi Daichi to sit on them. Sitting on the stool, Yi Xiu and Nobi Daichi stared at each other. Neither of them spoke. Suddenly, Yi Xiu casually threw his hand, and a bottle of wine appeared in his hand. As if knowing that Nobi Daichi did not drink, Yi Xiu took out a cup of tea and a small cup, and then placed the tea and small cup in front of Nobi Daichi. Looking at the steaming hot tea, Nobi Daichi did not act pretentiously, poured a full cup of tea, and then took a sip. After a careful feeling, there is no difference between it and boiled water. Chapter 105 Basic Knowledge of Psychics. After Nobi Daichi took a sip of tea, Yi Xiu also raised the bottle in his hand and took a big sip. Then the two fell into silence again, but this was also normal. After all, there was nothing to say between two grown men. "What are you doing this time?" After a long time, EXIU said slowly. Nobi Daichi was silent because he didn't know. He came to complete the system task this time, and he didn't know the relevant information of the system task until now. Because EXIU was in front of him, it was not convenient for him to check the system task information. So facing EXIU's question, Nobi Daichi had to respond with silence. EXIU thought Nobi Daichi didn't want to answer this question, so he didn't continue to entangle on this issue. "It doesn't matter if you don't want to say it." EXIU put the bottle of wine in his hand on the table and smiled at Nobi Daichi. "I have something else to do, and you have just experienced some twists and turns, so just rest here. If you have anything, you can find Zyolinger." After saying this, EXIU left and took the bottle of wine in his hand away. Of course, the tea for Nobi Daichi was still on the table. From the beginning to the end, EXIU never asked Nobi Daichi why he was still like this after 8 years, as if he had not grown up. Nobi Daichi couldn't help but sigh. It's good to talk to smart people. You know what to ask and what not to ask. If EXIU really asked this question, Nobi Daichi would certainly not answer. Because he didn't know that he would come to the zombie world again. 8 years after the last time he came to the zombie world, he couldn't find any reason for a while. As for the real reason, he came from another universe, another world, another dimension. Because the time flow speed of each world is different, so he is so young. Not to mention whether others will believe him. Even if others believe him, he can't say so. After various thoughts flashed in his mind, Nobi Daichi finally called up the task information panel in the system. After reading the task information, Nobi Daichi's confused mind was much clearer. Looking at the task goal issued by the system. Task goal: invite a king level strongman to willingly join the chat group of the heavens. Nobi Daichi finally understood why he was the only one in the chat group. It turned out that he had to invite people to join. However, since Nobi Daichi didn't know much about the current world, Nobi Daichi knew that his first priority was to quickly familiarize himself with this world. Of course, it was impossible to be completely familiar with it, and Nobi Daichi didn't think about being completely familiar with it. Looking at the task objectives issued by the system, Nobi Daichi estimated that he only needed to know the general situation of this world. While Nobi Daichi was thinking about this, the tea in the teacup he was holding had completely cooled. Nobi Daichi simply put the teacup on the table. He was really not interested in tea. To complete the system task, the first thing to do is to understand this world. There are many ways to understand this world. One is to listen to people, and the other is to read books and other methods. Listening to people and reading books are the two quicker methods that Nobi Daichi can think of at present. The former is undoubtedly very fast, but its risk is also greater than the latter. What? As an aboriginal, you don't know the situation of this world at all? It is true that Nobi Daichi can use language skills to trick others, but unfortunately he is not a good speaker. As for the latter, the trouble is to find books, but the risk it has to bear is much smaller than the former, and it can know more detailed information. Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi opened the door and walked out, and then subconsciously covered his eyes. After a while, Nobi Daichi slowly opened his eyes. What caught Nobi Daichi's eyes was the blue sky and the sun shining on everything. Nobi Daichi covered his eyes just now, because he hadn't seen the sun for a long time. Then it was an instinctive reaction, after being exposed to the scorching sun. Looking around, Nobi Daichi found himself on the balcony on the 3rd floor of a 3-story villa. On the far left of the balcony is a staircase going downstairs, and under the balcony is a transparent swimming pool. Nobi Daichi couldn't help but feel a little confused. Is this the so-called end of the world? Is this the end of the world where zombies are rampant? Is this the end of the world that makes countless people miserable? However, when I think of the privileged class that exists in any era, except the current prosperous, democratic, civilized and harmonious one, and EXIU's powerful strength, it seems that living in such an environment is not impossible. The villa where Nobi Daichi is currently located seems to be independent, and the area it occupies is not too large or too small. The entire villa is surrounded by solid walls more than 10 meters high on all sides, which makes people feel more secure. There seems to be only one room on the third floor. Nobi Daichi did not see anyone after he came out, so he went directly to the stairs on the far left of the balcony. When Nobi Daichi went downstairs, he saw Xiaolinga sitting on the sofa. Xiaolinga was reading a book with great interest. Nobi Daichi walked over and glanced at the title of the book. Basic knowledge related to psychics. As early as Nobi Daichi entered this mission world, the system had automatically instilled the relevant language of this world into him, so he could understand the name of this book. Nobi Daichi had question marks popping up in his mind one after another, but he knew that those questions were not easy to ask, so he did not open his mouth. After Nobi Daichi came downstairs, Xiaolinga noticed him, although Nobi Daichi's footsteps were very quiet. But Xiaolinga was a third level supernatural after all. If she couldn't even notice an ordinary person like Nobi Daichi walking in front of her, she would have died many times. When Nobi Daichi was thinking about what to say and hadn't figured out how to start, Xiaolinga put the book in her hand aside and smiled at Nobi Daichi. It's been so long since we last met. Why are you still so young? Although Nobi Daichi knew that Xiaolinga didn't mean that, but men. Ahem. Although he is just a child now, how can he admit that he is young? Therefore, Nobi Daichi said something without hesitation and wanted to refute. It's been so long since we last met. The one who was bullied by a group of little girls. At first, Nobi Daichi's voice was very loud and confident, but seeing the fire in Xiaolinga's eyes getting stronger and stronger, Nobi Daichi's voice became smaller and smaller, and finally it was almost inaudible, almost like the buzzing of a mosquito. Seeing Nobi Daichi's reaction, Xiaolinga showed a satisfied smile. You want to fight me? You are still too young. How could Nobi Daichi not see Xiaolinga's thoughts? He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Girls really change a lot when they grow up. The timid little Linga in the past can tease people now. Chapter 106 Overview of the Human Race. Just as Nobi Daichi was sighing in his heart, Xiaolinga spoke again. But this time was different from before. Xiaolinga put away her joking heart and said seriously, Uncle Yexi, you said that if you have anything, you can tell me. I will be out soon. If you have something, just tell me now. Is there a study here? I want to read some books. Nobi Daichi was stunned for a moment, obviously not expecting Xiaolinga to be so direct. But after thinking about it for a while, Nobi Daichi stated his request. That's it? Xiaolinga was puzzled. That's it. Nobi Daichi affirmed after hearing Xiaolinga's puzzled words. Okay, then you come with me. Xiaolinga stood up from the sofa and picked up the book Basic Knowledge Related to Superpowers that was placed aside. Then she led Nobi Daichi to a room. Click. Opening the door, Xiaolinga pointed to a room full of books. Yes, this is the study room of this villa. Xiaolinga walked in and put the book in her hand back on the bookshelf. Then Xiaolinga walked to the side of Nobi Daichi. Nothing else. I'll leave first. Nobi Daichi nodded, indicating that he had nothing to do. Then Nobi Daichi entered the study room and closed the door. After Nobi Daichi entered the study room and closed the door, Xiaolinga's temperament suddenly changed from a well-behaved harmless girl to an indifferent killer. Of course, this was not aimed at Nobi Daichi, and then Xiaolinga left the villa. After entering the study room, Nobi Daichi looked at the dazzling array of books and had a headache. There are so many books, which one should I start reading? But after a glance, Nobi Daichi found that there was a big label on each bookshelf. Seeing this, Nobi Daichi secretly breathed a sigh of relief, which made it much easier. Then Nobi Daichi searched for books in the bookshelf, and soon, Nobi Daichi found a book he was looking for. Overview of the Strongest Humans. With the book in hand, Nobi Daichi walked to the desk and sat on a chair to read. While Nobi Daichi was quietly reading in the study, Shuriken City, Central Conference Hall, a long table that can accommodate more than a dozen people is now full. I believe everyone knows what we are doing here this time, so I won't explain it in detail. Who has any suggestions? Speak up. Yexiu, who was sitting in the main seat, glanced at everyone present and said. After finishing the opening, Yexiu closed his eyes. He tapped his fingers on the table, waiting for them to speak, but after a long time, no one spoke. Seeing this, EXIU suddenly opened his tightly closed eyes, and a cold color flashed in his eyes. Since no one has any objections, let's execute the plan. Dismissed. After saying this, EXIU stood up from his seat and left. The rest of the people in the hall were left staring at each other. A white-haired old man sighed and left the hall, and the others left one after another. Villa, study. Nobi Daichi has read several books. He has also learned something about this world. The human empire has a total of 1 imperial capital, 5 imperial cities, and 18 king cities. The 18 kings correspond to 18 titled kings, and Shura King City is one of the 18 king cities. There are also some other bits and pieces of information, but this is roughly what Nobi Daichi knows about it. EXIU, Shura King, titled king. This is something Nobi Daichi didn't expect, even though he knew EXIU was very strong before. But he didn't expect EXIU to be so strong. And all the information Nobi Daichi knew was recorded in books. The 18 titled kings are all able to fight against the 8th level emperors. That's why the human race wrote their strength and some insignificant things in books. Let more ordinary people know that the human race has strong people and humanity has hope. In addition, Nobi Daichi also reads some knowledge about psychics. After reading it, Nobi Daichi couldn't help but get excited. It's not easy to practice psychics. First of all, you must awaken your own psychic powers. There are many types of psychics, such as controlling fire, controlling water, teleporting, flying, etc. Awakening psychics. Nobi Daichi is excited. Mind crashed for a few seconds before he reacted. He doesn't seem to have awakened psychics. Even though he had gravity control, telekinesis, and teleportation before, they are now taken back by the system. Besides, those are not his own awakened psychics, so he has no complaints about the system taking back his psychics. Besides, didn't the system give him compensation? Of course, Nobi Daichi has no complaints, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't feel sorry. It's just that it seems that he has no chance to practice with psychics now. But, in addition to psychics, there are warriors in this world. This warrior is not that warrior, because even if it practices to the extreme, it is only comparable to a 3rd level psychic. But even so, it is still very good. After all, there are only a few 100,000 superpowers among the population of more than 100 million. The rest of the people practice martial arts. It is precisely because of this that the human race can resist the zombie army of billions with more than 100 million people. After all, more than half of the zombie army are ordinary zombies, not even at the 1st level. But practicing martial arts requires energy crystals. Energy crystals. From zombie heads, even ordinary zombie heads have them, but the lower the level, the smaller the energy crystals. Of course, energy crystals are also needed for superpowers to practice, but after superpowers practice to a high level, the need for low-level energy crystals is not so great. Therefore, there is no big conflict between warriors and superpowers. It seems that practicing martial arts is not that easy. Nobi Daichi muttered to himself. Superpowers? He has no superpowers. Warrior. He has no energy crystals. Shaking his head, Nobi Daichi put all these aside for the time being. After all, his purpose of coming here is not to practice superpowers and become a so-called warrior. It was to complete the task issued by the system. Let a king-level strongman join the All Heavens chat group. Judging from the current situation, EXIU is a good and the best choice. The most important thing is that Nobi Daichi and EXIU seem to have a good relationship. At least there is a trace of friendship. But how to say it? Rush directly and then say to EXIU. EXIU, I want you to join the All Heavens chat group. This obviously doesn't work. Nobi Daichi seemed to have thought of something and asked the system in his mind. System, what is the process of letting others join the All Heavens chat group? When a person willingly joins the All Heavens chat group, a system prompt will sound in the person's mind. As long as the person agrees, it will be fine. The system said. Chapter 107 Hangmeng Devouring Technique. After hearing what the system said, Nobi Daichi knew that the system task was not so easy to complete. Task goal: let a king level strongman willingly join the All Heavens chat group. After careful consideration, Nobi Daichi summed up the key points to complete this task. The two most critical points to complete this task are that the person invited by Nobi Daichi must trust him and will not hurt him. After knowing the All Heavens chat group, does EXIU meet these two conditions? To be honest, Nobi Daichi is not sure. Even if EXIU saved him, you have to know that 8 years have passed in this world. People's hearts are changing all the time, not to mention that he and EXIU have not met for 8 years. And as long as Nobi Daichi tells about the All Heavens chat group with EXIU's intelligence, I believe he will definitely be able to infer more about Nobi Daichi based on this. Well, after saying so much, it can be summed up in one sentence: whether EXIU is worthy of his trust, or whether EXIU trusts him. Click. The sound of the door opening directly awakened Nobi Daichi, who was lost in thought. Nobi Daichi suddenly looked up at the door and found EXIU walking in. "Have you been reading for the whole afternoon?" EXIU looked at Nobi Daichi and said with a little surprise, "Yeah. Dinner is ready. Come down and eat if you have nothing to do." "Okay." Then Nobi Daichi followed EXIU to the first floor. There were only 3 people at the table: Nobi Daichi, EXIU and Xiaolinger. Looking at the dishes on the table, that were almost the same as ordinary meals, Nobi Daichi, who had no hunger at all, suddenly became like a starving ghost, picking up the bowl and gobbling it up. You know, Nobi Daichi has not eaten for several meals, and the transformation into Emperor Man consumes his physical strength, which indirectly accelerates the consumption of food in the stomach. Therefore, Nobi Daichi was so hungry that his chest was sticking to his back. But before that, Nobi Daichi's mind was thinking about other things, so he didn't realize that he was starving to death. EXIU looked at Nobi Daichi, who was gobbling, and was stunned for a while, but didn't say much. However, Xiaolinger couldn't stand the look on Nobi Daichi's face. Hey, eat in a civilized manner. How could Nobi Daichi, whose mind was filled with hunger, hear Xiaolinger's words? Therefore, no matter what Xiaolinger said, Nobi Daichi still maintained his usual style. "Burp, I'm finally full." Nobi Daichi leaned back in his chair and burped, then picked up a toothpick from the dining table and started eating. "Hey, Xiaolinger, why are you looking at me like that? And why don't you seem to have eaten much?" Looking at the fire that was about to burst out of Xiaolinger's eyes, Nobi Daichi said in confusion. Hearing Nobi Daichi's words, Xiaolinger was furious. "You eat so loudly and so rudely, how can I eat?" "You." Xiaolinger was about to say something when she was interrupted by EXIU. "Okay, Xiaolinger, you eat first. Yiming and I will go up first." Hearing what EXIU said, Nobi Daichi knew that EXIU was looking for him, so he followed EXIU to the balcony on the 3rd floor. It was already night, and the night sky of this world was still dotted with stars, which seemed to be no different from the starry sky in Doraemon's world. Leaning on the balcony railing, EXIU looked at the bright night sky and wondered what he was thinking. Nobi Daichi was lying on the balcony railing, looking at the fascinating starry sky. The two remained silent for a long time before EXIU spoke. 8 years ago, after the 100,000 zombie army was almost wiped out, our base received emergency rescue from the Empire. EXIU did not look at Nobi Daichi and seemed to be talking to himself. Nobi Daichi was shocked when he heard what EXIU said. That was the thing he least wanted to mention in front of EXIU. But EXIU took the initiative to bring it up, so he had to listen. "I know you have secrets." EXIU looked at Nobi Daichi, stared at him for less than a second, and then looked away. "But who doesn't have secrets? Even me." EXIU was disappointed, and then quickly returned to normal. "I will go to complete a task tomorrow, which will probably take at least half a day. But Xiaolinger won't leave. Just go find her if you have something to say." EXIU seemed to have finished what he wanted to say. After saying these words, he took a step and planned to go downstairs. "Can I trust you?" Nobi Daichi didn't know why he said such a thing. After hearing Nobi Daichi's words, EXIU paused. "What do you think?" Without looking back, EXIU replied jokingly, "Tap tap, tap tap." Watching EXIU's figure disappear at the corner of the stairs, Nobi Daichi returned to his room. Bang! Nobi Daichi threw himself directly on the bed, his mind filled with various things, making him very irritated. After a while, Nobi Daichi sat up from the bed. Then he walked to the table, picked up the tea that had already cooled down, and took a few sips. The cold tea made Nobi Daichi sober up a lot. After sorting out various things in his mind, Nobi Daichi thought of a very critical question. System, how many functions do you have now? Ding. The first function, punch in to get all things. The second function, task function. The third function, travel through the heavens and the worlds. The cold and ruthless voice of the system echoed in Nobi Daichi's mind. Are the punch in and task functions separate? Ding. Yes. Then why did I punch in today to get the task? Nobi Daichi had never noticed this question before. It was not until he thought about all the questions in his mind just now that Nobi Daichi remembered such a critical question. Ding. System loophole, automatically repairing. Ding. The loophole has been repaired. Today's punch-in has been made up. The host can punch in again today. Nobi Daichi was a little speechless. If he didn't say it, would this system always be like this? System, won't you compensate me? Ding. The system has made up for today's clocking in. Well, it seems that this is the maximum compensation from the system. Never mind, it's better to have it than not. Ding. You can clock in today. Do you want to clock in? Clock in. Clock in successfully. Get the Hangmeng devouring technique. I want to cultivate immortality and have boundless magic power. Ahem. I don't know why such a second-year sentence popped up in Nobi Daichi's mind. As soon as the system finished speaking, countless complicated words poured into Nobi Daichi's mind, causing Nobi Daichi to close his eyes unconsciously. Hangmeng devouring technique. Devour everything and feed back to oneself. The author doesn't want to cultivate immortality either, but there is no way. Chapter 108 3 Alarms. After Nobi Daichi accepted the Hangmeng devouring technique, his eyes opened. There seemed to be countless universes and stars shining in his eyes, but it lasted for a moment, and then returned to its original state. Standing up from the stool, Nobi Daichi sat back on the bed. Then he sat cross-legged on the bed, and practiced the Hangmeng devouring technique. The moonlight that came in from the window shone on Nobi Daichi's body, and was absorbed by Nobi Daichi. According to the Hangmeng devouring technique, the Hangmeng devouring technique can indeed devour everything, but that is also related to his own strength. And the higher the level of the devoured items, the faster his strength will increase. As long as the energy is enough, theoretically Nobi Daichi can become infinitely stronger. A night passed quickly, and Nobi Daichi also got up from the bed. He can only devour things that contain energy now. Last night he absorbed moonlight, but the moonlight disappeared in the second half of the night, so Nobi Daichi could only sleep. Although Nobi Daichi only absorbed moonlight for a few hours, he could clearly feel that he had become stronger, and the strength was not a little bit stronger. If Nobi Daichi was EXIU, he would definitely know that his current strength has reached the level of a first level superpower. Midnight. A first level superpower. The Hangmeng devouring art is so terrifying. I guess now that I have transformed into an emperor warrior, my strength should have improved. Nobi Daichi thought secretly. After all, how much power he can exert from the Emperor Armor is closely related to his own strength. After getting dressed, Nobi Daichi went downstairs. When he came to the first floor, the food was already on the table. When Nobi Daichi came down, Zyolinger was coming out of the kitchen. Then the two of them each chose a seat and started eating. Nobi Daichi looked around and saw that GXIU was not around, and then he remembered that GXIU said yesterday that he had something to do today. He probably went out to do something, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Soon Nobi Daichi and Zyolinger finished their meal. On a sand dune, EXIU stopped looking at the tall mountains in front of him. Behind him were more than a dozen king-level masters. On the rugged road to the right of EXIU and the other dozen people was a huge army of zombies. Let's go, EXIU said, and flew towards the mountains ahead. Seeing this, the dozen king-level masters behind him also flew behind EXIU one after another. Soon they arrived at a cave entrance on the top of the mountain. At this time, a steady stream of zombies were entering the cave entrance one after another. EXIU and the dozen king level masters behind him couldn't help but frowned when they saw this weird situation. Then, under the leadership of EXIU and the dozen king level masters behind him flew towards the cave entrance. The purpose of their coming here this time was to check the situation, why there were so many zombies gathered here. Even if there was any danger here, they had more than a dozen king level masters and a Shuriken who was comparable to the emperor level masters. Therefore, no one had any worried expression. However, despite saying so, everyone was nervous when flying towards the cave entrance. Almost no one who could cultivate to the king level would be careless about such things. Because of carelessness, he died before he could reach the king level. EXIU and the people behind him soon flew to less than 10 meters above the cave entrance. As they got closer and closer to the cave entrance, even EXIU became cautious. But what surprised EXIU and his people was that, even though they were about to enter the cave entrance, there was still no movement around. EXIU suddenly stopped, and the others also stopped. When they saw this, something is wrong, retreat quickly. EXIU's face suddenly changed, and he shouted to the people behind him. When the others heard EXIU's words, they all felt nervous and retreated behind them. But it was too late. Ha ha ha. With a burst of laughter, Bloodthirsty appeared in front of EXIU and others out of thin air. Then EXIU and others found that they could hardly move. Seeing this, EXIU didn't know that the person in the blood-colored robe who appeared in front of them was an Emperor-level strongman. Because only Emperor-level strongmen can control the domain and can make King-level strongmen have almost no resistance. But that is only for ordinary King-level strongmen. For a titled King-level strongman like him, isn't it just a domain? He has one too. EXIU's mind moved, and his killing domain was also unfolded unconsciously. Then EXIU regained his freedom again, but he could only do this. He couldn't do anything about the other people trapped by Bloodthirsty. Bloodthirsty saw EXIU get rid of his domain, and there was no surprise on his face. Because he had long known that the titled king level powerhouses all had domains. But even so, what can it do? The huge gap in strength is not so easy to make up. EXIU also knew this, so he took out the big knife as soon as he got rid of Bloodthirsty's domain. As for escaping, he didn't think about it. First, there are other king level powerhouses in Shuriken City here. If he escapes, it will be a huge loss for his prestige. Second, even if he escapes, he may not be able to escape. The most important thing is that he has grown from a weak to the current titled king level powerhouse, and he has already established his own beliefs. Once he escapes this time, it is estimated that he will never be able to make half a step forward in the future. Without hesitation, EXIU raised the big knife and chopped at Bloodthirsty. Shuriken City, East Street. Nobi Daichi followed Zyolinger and looked around. At first glance, there was a 20-meter high city wall, which was mainly used to resist low-level zombies. Because for high-level zombies, no matter how high the city wall was, it was like walking on flat ground, as if it was useless. There were pedestrians coming and going on the streets, which made Nobi Daichi feel dazed, as if he had returned to ordinary urban life. The population of Shuriken City was millions, and the population of other king cities was millions or tens of millions. Nobi Daichi followed Zyolinger out this time, mainly to buy some daily necessities and lettuce. In fact, high-level psychics do not need to eat, while mid-level psychics only need to eat a little food every day. EXIU had eaten before just for the taste. Nobi Daichi and Zyolinger were both low-level psychics, so they needed to eat. Nobi Daichi and Zyolinger quickly bought the daily necessities they needed. When they were about to return to the villa, an alarm sounded throughout Shuriken City. When Zyolinger heard the alarm, her normal expression suddenly changed, but she was not too worried. Even if EXIU went out, there were still many king-level masters in Shuriken City. As long as no emperor-level masters appeared, it would be safe. But then the alarm rang twice again. This time, Zyolinger was really panicked. 3 alarms. It means the city is in danger of being destroyed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Fan Bridge. When the urgent alarm sounded throughout the Shuriken City, the streets full of people suddenly became chaotic. In fact, it should not be like this, because Shuriken City has encountered foreign invasions before. But this is the first time that the city has been destroyed, and soon there are almost no people on the street. Nobi Daichi and Zyolinger also ran towards the villa. After arriving at the villa, Zyolinger immediately planned to go out. Because every city has stipulated that once a city is in danger of destruction, all people above the first level must go to rescue. And the reason why Zyolinger returned to the villa was just to send Nobi Daichi back. Nobi Daichi watched Zyolinger walk out of the villa quietly, and he didn't say anything like "take me with you," because he knew that Zyolinger would not agree. After all, in Zyolinger's eyes, he was just an ordinary person. The Hangmeng devouring art makes any energy cultivated by Nobi Daichi perfectly fit the rules of the avenue. Therefore, no one can find that Nobi Daichi has a cultivation level comparable to that of a first level supernatural person. Although Zyolinger knows that Nobi Daichi has some secrets, this cannot change the fact that Nobi Daichi is just an ordinary person. After watching Zyolinger walk out of the villa, Nobi Daichi returned to the first floor of the villa and sat on the sofa. Of course, he did not sit there and wait for death, but began to recall the relevant things about fighting in the canyon. After reading some books about this world yesterday, Nobi Daichi combined his experience of fighting in the canyon. He roughly guessed that he had transformed into the Emperor Warrior and had the 5th level strength of this world. Because the cultivation of the Hangmeng devouring art is different from that of the superpowers and warriors. So Nobi Daichi did not know that he now has the strength comparable to the first level superpowers or first level warriors. There are only 3 realms of cultivation recorded in the Hangmeng devouring art. The ordinary realm, the transcendental realm, the great realm. The ordinary realm is divided into the initial stage, the middle stage, the late stage, the peak, and the perfect stage. After practicing for half the night last night, his strength did not enter the initial stage of the ordinary realm. Shuriken City, East City Wall. At this time, the deputy city lord of Shuriken City, Fankyo, was guarding the East City Gate. Fankyo carried a broken iron sword on his back and kept walking back and forth on the city wall. Seeing someone slacking off, a cold look shot over, and the guard immediately became energetic. His waist no longer hurt, and his legs no longer felt sore. Then Fankyo retracted his cold look and looked elsewhere. Fankyo walked back and forth on the city wall for more than 10 minutes, and was about to go to other city walls to inspect. Suddenly, a black mass of ant-like things appeared at the end of the distance. Fankyo, who was originally walking back and forth, stopped and looked into the distance. When the black mass of things got closer and closer, Fankyo's eyes fixed. Zombies. A huge army of zombies. According to past experience, there are probably no less than 1 million. But Fankyo didn't care too much. Although I don't know why there are so many zombies this time. The people guarding the city wall are not vegetarians. The speed of low-level zombies is slower than that of normal adults. After waiting for a long time, the million zombie army came to the bottom of the city wall. Without Fankyo's instructions, a person who looked like a small leader took the initiative to order. Prepare the artillery. Prepare the rockets. The combination of modern weapons and ancient arrow rain first attacked the zombies below. At the advent of the end of the world, although human technology suffered heavy losses, some technological weapons were still retained. The ancient rocket rain was also excavated and reused by people with good intentions. There were people who opposed it at the beginning. But later, with the improvement of people with good intentions, the effect of the rocket rain was greatly increased, so the rocket rain was promoted among all mankind. Looking at the zombie army attacked by modern weapons and ancient rocket rain, Fankyo still had a calm expression on his face. At this time, he was searching for the strong men of the zombie clan in the zombie army. It is obviously impossible to say that such a huge zombie army has no people to command. Sure enough, Fankyo soon found the clue. Then he flew directly from the city wall to the zombie army. At the same time, He drew out the rusty iron sword on his back, and a cold light flashed on the rusty sword. The next moment, Fankyo swung the rusty sword forward. A huge sword beam that was tens of meters long appeared on the rusty sword, and then the sword beam broke away from the rusty sword and rushed downwards. Boom. The sword beam directly blasted out a crack that was tens of meters long. The zombies covered by the sword beam were directly torn into pieces, and the zombies that were touched by the aftermath of the sword beam also died directly. A sword beam. Thousands of zombies were destroyed. When Fankyo swung his sword, a zombie that was originally no different from an ordinary zombie suddenly turned half human and flew towards Fankyo. Then it stopped more than 10 meters in front of Fankyo. The zombie clan can only turn half human when it reaches the 7th level, and all those below the 7th level are zombies. Of course, this refers to if there is no special situation. After swinging the sword, Fankyo no longer cared about the zombies below, but looked at the half-human zombie standing more than 10 meters in front of him. Without any hesitation, Fankyo flew directly towards the zombie in front of him. At the same time, he stabbed the zombie in front of him with a sword. Roth watched Fankyo thrust his sword at him without any action. Fankyo did not feel anything wrong when he saw this scene. He just felt that Roth looked down on him. When he thought of this, Fankyo's attack seemed to be stronger. The speed of the king level strongman was so fast that Fankyo's sword appeared in front of Roth in just a moment. However, the next moment, Fankyo's face changed, and he could not move. Domain. The king level strongman of the zombie clan in front of him actually had a domain. The zombie king level strongman in front of him was obviously not completely humanized. That is, he was not an 8th level emperor level strongman. Then there was only one possibility. He was facing a king level strongman who had comprehended the domain. As for whether it was a titled king level strongman, it was unknown. After all the king level strongmen who were awarded titles were able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the 8th level emperor level strongman. But Fankyo's face only changed for a moment, and then he broke free from Roth's domain. That's right, Fankyo also comprehended the existence of the domain. It's just that only EXIU and himself knew about this in the entire Shuriken city. This is why EXIU had insisted on letting Fankyo be the deputy city lord. Oh. Roth was slightly surprised when he saw this scene. But that was all. After all, he was a titled king level expert. Originally, it was not him who came to Shuriken city this time, but another ordinary zombie king level high level expert. However, Roth felt quite bored because he had been practicing in seclusion for a long time. So he took this opportunity to go out for a walk and see the results of his practice. Chapter 110 Urgent Mission. After breaking free from Roth's domain, Fankyo confronted Roth. Not far from Roth, Fankyo held up his sword and looked at Roth in front of him with a serious face. This time Roth attacked first, and the speed of the attack was so fast that Fankyo couldn't even dodge it, so he could only instinctively block the sword in front of him. Bang! Fankyo was directly knocked to the ground from the air by Roth's punch. Boom. Cough cough. Fankyo climbed up from the smoke-filled pit with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Then he picked up the rusty sword that fell to the side and looked at Roth above and the other king level strongman who came from Shuriken city. Judging from the strength of Roth's attack on him just now, Fankyo estimated that the king level strongman of the zombie clan in front of him might be a titled king. You know, he is a mid-level king and has mastered the domain. But he couldn't even withstand Roth's punch. Roth looked at the other king level strongman who came from Shuriken city and still stood quietly in place without any movement. The other king level warriors who came from Shuriken city quickly surrounded Roth. But the next moment, they were all surprised because Roth suddenly disappeared among them. No one noticed how Roth disappeared. Soon someone found Roth's figure. It turned out that Roth had come to the gate of Shuriken city. The cannonballs and rockets fired by the guards on the city wall did not pose any threat to Roth at all. Seeing this, the king level warriors of Shuriken city wanted to fly over to stop Roth. But at this moment, several zombies flew up from below. These figures stopped the king level warriors who wanted to rush back to save Shuriken city. Roth looked at the east gate below and directly came to the gate of the city with a flash and then punched out. Boom. A big hole was directly punched in the huge and solid city gate. Then the stable city gate was rushed open by the zombies surging from below. At the moment the city gate was rushed open, a guard on the city wall directly pressed the alarm. After the city gate was directly opened, Roth flew away from here to a secret place without any hesitation. He had to complete the task assigned by the bloodthirsty master before the people from other royal cities came to rescue Shuriken City. The purpose of the zombie army, to attack Shuriken City this time, was not to destroy Shuriken City, but mainly to attract attention. It is not so easy to destroy Royal City. It is simply a delusion without an 8th level Emperor level powerhouse. Even if there is an 8th level Emperor level powerhouse, the 8th level Emperor level powerhouse of the human race is not a vegetarian. Countless zombie armies rushed in frantically the moment the East City Gate was opened. But they were blocked at the city gate by the people, who came to rescue continuously. It's not possible to stop them, because their relatives and friends are behind them. Fankao killed the 5 zombie king level powerhouses who blocked him around, and then looked at Roth, and found that Roth had arrived at the city gate. He wanted to stop Roth immediately, but it was too late. With a wail, the huge east gate was blasted open, and the zombie army rushed in frantically. When Fankao wanted to fight Roth had already disappeared at the gate. There was no other way. Fankao had to deal with the king level zombies around first, and he had sent a distress signal to the people in other king cities. 1,000,000 zombies is not too many, but not too few. Under the resistance of the guards at the east gate and the rescuers who kept coming, the million zombie army was still blocked at the gate. EXIU's house, villa. Nobi Daichi stood up from the sofa after sorting out his thoughts. Emperor Armor. Armor merge. After a flash of golden light, Nobi Daichi transformed into the Emperor Knight. It's really much stronger than before. Nobi Daichi clenched his fists, feeling the power of the Emperor Armor. Nobi Daichi didn't mean to go to the gate to resist the zombie army. If the gate was really broken by the zombie army, it would be useless for him to go there. The reason why Nobi Daichi wore the Emperor Armor and transformed into Emperor Warrior was just to ensure his own safety. After all, in such a dangerous situation, what if a zombie warrior sneaked in? Although Nobi Daichi didn't know that there were millions of zombies besieging the city outside. But if he connected it to this world, he could guess it. Just as Nobi Daichi was thinking about what to do next, the system's prompt sound suddenly rang in Nobi Daichi's ears. Then a task information panel appeared in front of Nobi Daichi. Ding, issue an emergency task. Task target, save EXIU. The simple 8 words made Nobi Daichi dumbfounded. What? Save EXIU. Did he hear it right? EXIU was so strong that he still needed him to save him. Even if he wanted to, he didn't have the strength. Indeed, after practicing the Hangmeng devouring art, his strength has improved, but it is still far behind EXIU's strength. System, what's going on? Ding, EXIU is the son of this plane. Then there's no need to save him, right? Of course, if he could save him, Nobi Daichi would definitely save him. But the current situation is that his strength is not as good as EXIU's, and he doesn't know where EXIU is. This time the system was silent, as if it was thinking about whether to tell Nobi Daichi. After a while, the system's cold and ruthless voice came. Ding, the tasks issued by the system are mainly to collect the origin power of the world. As the son of this plane, EXIU will definitely grow into the strongest existence in this plane in the end. The strongest plane is enough to be on par with the heavenly Deo of this plane, and the heavenly Deo has the most origin power in this plane. After the system absorbs the origin power of this plane, it is equivalent to controlling the heavenly Deo of this world. And if this process is blocked by the son of the plane, there will always be some trouble, although the system does not care. The reason why the host of the first task issued before has a cause and effect with EXIU is that the system deliberately did it. After saying such a long paragraph, the system stopped, as if giving Nobi Daichi time to think. Devour the origin power of the plane. Control the heavenly Deo. Nobi Daichi was shocked by the ambition of the system. As for him being arranged by the system to have a cause and effect with EXIU, although Nobi Daichi had some opinions about the system's arrangement, thinking about his own life again with the help of the system, it seemed that it was not unacceptable. Besides, the system didn't completely restrict his freedom, it just occasionally issued 1 or 2 tasks for him to complete. Nobi Daichi wondered whether the system would harm him at first, but later he felt it was ridiculous. After all, wouldn't it be easy to wipe him out with the system's ability? Just as EXIU was thinking about this, the system's prompt sounded again. Ding. The location of EXIU, the son of the plains, has been searched. Begin teleportation. Chapter 111 The Power of Law. On a huge mountain, Bloodthirst and EXIU were facing each other in the air. Below them were several king-level masters of Shuriken City who were imprisoned by Bloodthirst's domain. Among them, there were even masters at the peak of the king level, but they were still unable to move in Bloodthirst's domain. After EXIU broke free from Bloodthirst's domain, a big knife appeared out of thin air in his hand. Then the big knife was covered with blood-red light, and then EXIU chopped at Bloodthirst with one knife. Bloodthirst watched EXIU's big knife approaching him without any action. EXIU came in front of Bloodthirst in an instant, and his big knife chopped directly at Bloodthirst. Bang! EXIU's attack missed, and the blade light shot from the big knife hit the ground. A large area of the dense zombie army below was directly cleared. Not good. EXIU felt a strong sense of crisis, and just when he wanted to hide, Bloodthirst had already come behind him. There was no way. EXIU had to instinctively hold up the protective light shield. Bang! EXIU directly blasted from the air to the ground. His protective light shield was shattered the moment Bloodthirst's attack touched him. Bloodthirsty looked at EXIU, who was knocked to the ground by his casual attack. There was no expression on his face. In his opinion, EXIU's strength was really not worth mentioning. Killing EXIU was just like killing an ant. Oh. But the next moment, when he saw EXIU flying back to him from the smoke and dust with a big knife, Bloodthirsty was also a little surprised. Although it was just a casual attack from him just now, it was also the strength of the lower level of the Emperor. Because he knew that EXIU was a titled king level strongman, he deliberately added a little strength. But EXIU was actually unscathed. The next moment, EXIU attacked Bloodthirsty with a knife again. This time, the big knife swung by EXIU was ordinary, but it made Bloodthirsty feel the danger. Bloodthirsty felt it was incredible that he could feel a lot of danger from an ant like EXIU. EXIU's knife was extremely slow, but also extremely fast. Anyway, Bloodthirsty couldn't avoid it. Seeing this, Bloodthirsty stretched out his hand. Then Bloodthirsty's big hand directly touched EXIU's big knife. Bang! After EXIU's attack and Bloodthirsty's attack came into contact, EXIU was still blasted to the ground like last time. Looking at Bloodthirsty who was unharmed in the air, even EXIU couldn't help but feel a little desperate. The knife just now was already his strongest attack, but he didn't expect it to have no effect at all. Then EXIU fainted. The knife just now was used to save his life. Only he knew the secret. If he didn't encounter fatal danger, he would not use it. After all, the sequelae were very serious. This time, Bloodthirsty was chopped back dozens of steps by EXIU. Bloodthirsty put his hand back into his sleeve, and then put his hand behind his back. No one noticed that there was a scar on his hand. At this time, a trace of black blood was flowing out of the scar, but it was blocked by Bloodthirst's power. Although the blood blocked by Bloodthirst would not flow out temporarily, he could not heal the wound for a while. Bloodthirst's face was still calm, but he could not stop being shocked. Shuriken, EXIU. He actually comprehended the power of the law. Although he only comprehended the superficial power of the law, you should know that only the Emperor can comprehend the power of the law. Thinking of this, Bloodthirst's killing intent could not be suppressed and surged out. The attack power of EXIU's knife containing the power of the law just now actually reached the middle level of the Emperor. No, it was even close to the higher level of the Emperor. The general middle level of the Emperor would be seriously injured, even if he didn't die. If he hadn't just broken through the higher level of the Emperor not long ago, I'm afraid he would really fall to EXIU, a human. The purpose of his coming this time was mainly to delay Shuriken EXIU and other king level masters of Shuriken City. The longer the delay, the better. I believe the Emperor level masters of Shuriken City will come soon. Bloodthirst said to himself. The reason why he didn't kill the other king level masters of Shuriken City at the beginning. The main purpose was to have them send a message to attract the emperor-level powerhouses of Shuriken City to facilitate Roth's actions. How could a king city that accommodates at least millions of people not have an 8th level emperor-level powerhouse sitting here? Thinking of this, Bloodthirsty dared not hesitate anymore. He turned his sight to EXIU below. Then he wanted to go directly and kill the threat of EXIU as soon as possible. But Bloodthirsty immediately stopped his steps again because a ball of light suddenly appeared in front of EXIU. When the light dissipated, a golden figure appeared in front of everyone. It was Nobi Daichi, who was teleported by the system. Looking at the unfamiliar environment around him, Nobi Daichi was stunned at first and then looked behind him intuitively. Then he saw EXIU lying on the ground unconscious, with a big knife inserted a few meters away from EXIU. Nobi Daichi felt as if someone was looking at him, so he turned and looked up at the sky. He found that there was a person in the sky who was incompatible with the king-level powerhouse of Shuriken City. At this moment, this person who was incompatible with the king-level powerhouse of Shuriken City was looking at him. He and EXIU were in an open area, and there were countless zombies dozens of meters away. Looking at this situation, Nobita Daichi knew that he was in trouble now. Bloodthirsty looked at EXIU, who suddenly appeared, and was a little worried at first, afraid that he could not kill EXIU. A big trouble. But how could the emperor-level powerhouse of Shuriken City come so soon? It shouldn't be. It would take a while for him to arrive. Then he carefully felt Nobita Daichi's strength. When he found that Nobita Daichi was only at the 6th level, he realized that he was worried in vain. But he didn't dare to be careless. After all, the appearance of Nobita Daichi actually made him, a high-level emperor-level powerhouse, not notice it at all. Therefore, Bloodthirsty didn't hold back this time and used all his strength. 8th level. High-level emperor. Go all out. A blood-red smoke kept emerging from Bloodthirsty. Soon the blood-red smoke blocked a small piece of the sky. Then the blood-red smoke directly turned into a blood-red giant hand of several hundred meters in the sky and slapped down towards the location of Nobi Daichi and EXIU. In order to avoid more trouble, Zixu decided to kill Nobi Daichi and EXIU together. When the blood-red giant hand slapped Nobi Daichi felt that the space around him was suddenly suppressed. The most important thing was that he could not move at once. The blood-red giant hand kept pressing down on him from the sky, and Nobi Daichi also felt the pressure getting bigger and bigger. It even made his legs tremble uncontrollably, as if he was going to kneel down the next moment. Damn, system, what should I do? Nobi Daichi looked at this situation and felt extremely helpless. He could only ask the system for help. The system must have a way to teleport him here so abruptly. After all, it would not be for him to come here to die. Thanks to the reader Shianai for the reward of 500 starting coins. Chapter 112. One wave has not yet subsided, another wave has risen. Ding, the host can actually solve it himself. Nobi Daichi. Isn't this nonsense? If he can solve it, why would he need to ask this unreliable system of yours? Be more specific. Nobi Daichi roared in his heart as he looked at the blood-red hand that was getting closer and closer to him. Under the pressure of the bloodthirsty blood-red hand, he was almost unable to hold on. At this time, he had changed from standing to supporting the ground with one hand. Ding, the host can use the power of the star sun. What? Nobi Daichi cried out in surprise, but he didn't have time to care why it could be like this. Okay, you can use the power of the star sun. He accepted it. But you have to tell me how to borrow it? Nobi Daichi asked the system frantically in his heart, but the system fell silent again. The area around Nobi Daichi had become pitch black. Because the bloodthirsty blood-red hand that was dozens of meters long had already covered Nobi Daichi and EXIU. Nobi Daichi was about to be crushed into pieces by the bloodthirsty blood-red hand that was dozens of meters long. But Nobi Daichi suddenly resisted the pressure of the bloodthirsty blood-red hand and stood up. At the same time, a 5-pointed star array suddenly appeared above Nobi Daichi's head and feet. 5 extremely mysterious characters of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth were carved on the 5 points. Then the 2 5-pointed star arrays that appeared above Nobi Daichi's head and feet shone brightly at the same time and were connected in series. Far away from the blue star, a fiery red star was constantly emitting hot light to the surrounding starry sky. As if it was called by something, a golden beam of light suddenly shot from the star, emitting hot light to the blue star. Boom. Just when Bloodthirsty felt that he had already won, a golden beam of light suddenly fell from the sky, pierced through Bloodthirsty's blood-red giant hand, and fell on Nobi Daichi's body. Then Nobi Daichi's aura quickly increased. After the golden beam pierced through Bloodthirsty's blood-red giant hand, Bloodthirsty's attack collapsed. After retracting his hand, Bloodthirsty looked at the hole in the middle of his palm, where blood was constantly flowing out. He was extremely shocked. The palm strike just now could be said to be his full strength attack. Due to the special moves, the general 8th level Emperor level peak powerhouse could be killed with one palm strike, but it was directly destroyed by a beam of light. Looking at Nobi Daichi, whose aura was constantly increasing, Bloodthirsty felt a little scared for the first time. In just a short while, the aura on Nobi Daichi's body had caught up with him. The other king level powerhouses of Shuriken City who were imprisoned by Bloodthirsty were originally very desperate after seeing EXIU also defeated. When they saw the appearance of Nobi Daichi, they had a little hope in their hearts. But Bloodthirsty's next attack made them despair again, and looking at Nobi Daichi, who broke free from Bloodthirsty's giant hand, the king level powerhouses of Shuriken City, looking at Nobi Daichi, whose aura was still increasing below, Bloodthirsty knew that he couldn't go on like this. Then he appeared in front of Nobi Daichi in an instant. Then he stretched out his skinny claws and grabbed Nobi Daichi. He had no weapons. His best weapons were his two well-trained hands, but now one of them was useless. Nobi Daichi didn't know what was going on. He suddenly felt that he could move, so he stood up. Then he found two 5-pointed star arrays appeared under his feet and above his head. Then he was covered by a golden light column. At the same time, he found that his strength was constantly increasing. Suddenly a figure appeared in front of him. Nobi Daichi knew without thinking that this person must be his enemy, Bloodthirsty. Then Nobi Daichi punched Bloodthirsty. At the same time, Bloodthirsty's attack also attacked Nobi Daichi. The attacks of Nobi Daichi and Bloodthirsty looked ordinary, of course. This was only in the eyes of outsiders. When the attacks of the two finally came into contact, Bloodthirsty, who was shocked and terrified, was directly shattered by Nobi Daichi's punch. In short, he was killed by Nobi Daichi's punch. Nobi Daichi, the king level strongman of Shuriken City. Although Nobi Daichi had already killed Bloodthirsty, but the aura of Nobi Daichi, who was wearing the Emperor's armor, was still growing. When the golden beam finally dissipated, Nobi Daichi, who had transformed into the Emperor warrior, seemed to have broken through a certain limit. At this moment, Nobi Daichi felt that he was stronger than ever. It seemed that a random punch was enough to destroy the world. After Bloodthirst died, the other king level strongmen who were imprisoned in Shuriken City were able to move one after another. However, they all stood in place without any other movements, because they didn't know whether Nobi Daichi, who had transformed into the Emperor warrior, was an enemy or a friend. Even though Nobi Daichi had just eliminated their enemy Bloodthirst, they were still not sure. Just as Nobi Daichi, who had transformed into the Emperor warrior, was about to turn around to see what was happening with EXIU, he suddenly felt a great terror. Instinctively, Nobi Daichi looked up into the air. Then he found a huge face that covered the sky, and the sun suddenly appeared in the sky. At this time, this expressionless big face was staring at Nobi Daichi. At the same time, an extremely majestic voice came out of the big face's mouth. Invaders from another world. Damn it. Then, another giant hand pressed down towards Nobi Daichi. Unlike the small hand that was only tens of meters long before the Bloodthirst, this time Nobi Daichi was facing a real giant hand. This was truly covering the sky and the sun. From Nobi Daichi's perspective, he couldn't see the edge of the giant hand at all. Nobi Daichi hadn't even gotten over the crisis he had just escaped when he encountered this crisis again. If you want to kill me, just say it. Is it necessary to go through so much trouble? Looking at the giant hand in the sky, Nobi Daichi complained. Then Nobi Daichi felt his own strength and then looked at the giant hand in the sky. It seems that it is not impossible to match it. At the same time, in the human imperial capital, in a secret room, an old man sitting cross-legged on a round stone suddenly opened his eyes. Then he looked at the sky above Nobi Daichi, EXIU and the king level strongman of Shuriken City. His eyes seemed to penetrate countless obstacles and saw the big face directly. Then the big face seemed to have noticed something. His eyes slightly changed and he looked into the old man's eyes. HMPH. A cold snort came out of the big face's nose. Puff. The old man was directly injured by the big face, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and was forced to retract his gaze. In the blood-red palace, a young and extremely weird young man was sitting in a pool full of blood. At the moment when the big face suddenly appeared, the weird young man also suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the big face. Chapter 113 Emergency Return. The huge face in the sky seemed to be indifferent, as if it had not seen the strange young man. Then, the huge palm in the sky slapped down fiercely towards Nobi Daichi in front of everyone. Nobi Daichi was about to resist, but found that his own strength was rapidly fading. At first, the huge palm that covered the sky and the sun could not exert any pressure on him. Now he could feel it more and more, and gradually he could not maintain his standing posture. The huge palm that covered the sky and the sun seemed to have imprisoned the surrounding space, and he could not run away. It's over. This time, Nobi Daichi really didn't know what to do. From the previous fatal attack of Bloodthirsty, the breath has been strengthening and then weakening, and this process is only a dozen seconds. It seems that this life-saving measure is not omnipotent. Nobi Daichi muttered to himself. The next moment, Nobi Daichi's figure disappeared from the spot. Huh. The expressionless big face in the vast sky uttered a surprised exclamation for the first time. After making some calculations to no avail, it disappeared from the sky helplessly. The Riemann World, Japan, Tokyo, at Tsukimide, Nerima District. After a flash of light in a corner of the open space, Nobi Daichi appeared here. Looking around blankly, Nobi Daichi found himself back in this peaceful and lovely world. Nobi Daichi knew without thinking that it was the system that sent him back. System, what's going on? Thinking of the horror scene he saw in the zombie world just now, Nobi Daichi was terrified. Damn, he almost died like this. Ding, because the host's strength temporarily broke through to the level of the emperor of the zombie world. Therefore, it attracted the attention of the zombie world Shiandeo. In other words, it is the zombie world Shiandeo who wants to kill me, Nobi Daichi said in surprise. Ding, yes. Your mission is to absorb the power of the origin of the world and control Shiandeo? Ding, you can say that. Then Nobi Daichi said nothing, but he had made up his mind secretly. When he goes to the zombie world again, he must press the zombie world Shiandeo to the ground and rub it hard. Although he didn't know whether he would go to the zombie world next time. After all, his strength didn't seem to be enough. But if he couldn't go next time, he would go the next time, and if he still couldn't go, he would go the next time. After all, he would definitely go in the future. Because the system needs to absorb the original power of the zombie world. By the way, the system seems to have issued another task. Nobi Daichi suddenly thought of something. He opened the task panel and found two big red words failed at the bottom of the task panel. System, what's going on? Why did you issue a task that I can't complete at all? Is your chat group of all heavens just a decoration? In that case, I beg you to take back the chat group of all heavens. Nobi Daichi said indignantly. Ding, host request detected. Ding, request approved. Cancel the chat group of all heavens successfully. Nobi Daichi. Brother system, didn't you hear that I was angry? Forget it, just cancel it, it's useless anyway. Nobi Daichi thought about it and felt much more relaxed. In the early morning, although there were few people on the street, there were still some. Nobi Daichi felt that it was not a good idea to hide here all the time, so he decided to go home. Looking at the few office workers who occasionally walked by in a hurry, Nobi Daichi couldn't help but sigh. This world is still good. In his previous life, he came from the Kidian orphanage and went to school hard. After the college entrance examination, one day he finally got the admission letter from a famous school. At that time, he felt that he had finally made it. So on that rainy day, he took the admission letter, pointed his middle finger to the sky, and wanted to make a vow. But before he could say anything, a lightning bolt struck down. So he successfully realized his dream of traveling through time. Ahem. Okay, let's get back to the topic. Soon Nobi Daichi returned home, and it didn't take him long from going out to coming back. Nobita was still lying on the tatami and sleeping soundly. Seeing this, Nobi Daichi gently pulled out the chair under the desk and sat on it. By the way, I don't think I have checked in yet. Nobi Daichi suddenly remembered that he seemed to have spent a day in the zombie world. Ding, you have already clocked in today. You cannot clock in again. System, what's going on? Nobi Daichi's eyes were a little confused. Did the system want to trick him again? Ding, the daily clocking in is calculated according to the time of this world. But this is based on the current situation. As for the future, I have no comment. The cold and ruthless voice of the system resounded in Nobi Daichi's mind. This system is really inhumane, and I don't know who made it. Nobi Daichi silently complained. Then what should I do next? System, call up my character panel. The next moment, a blue light screen that only Nobi Daichi could see appeared in front of Nobi Daichi. Host, Nobi Daichi. Gender, male. Age, 10 years old. Cultivation, none. Bloodline, 5 element bloodline. Special ability, transformed into Emperor Warrior. Special items, Mission World Stay card, Luxury Ball. It seems that there is no change, just one more cultivation. Then Nobi Daichi closed the character panel. Suddenly Nobi Daichi seemed to think of something. The next moment, a golden luxury ball appeared in Nobi Daichi's hand. Come out, Charmander. Bang, the luxury ball opened in response. After a flash of fiery red light, Charmander appeared next to Nobi Daichi. Roar. Charmander called twice and ran to Nobi Daichi's side, rubbing his head affectionately. When did Charmander evolve? Looking at the Charmander in front of him, which had grown in size and height, Nobi Daichi had one question after another, but he couldn't figure it out, no matter how hard he thought, so he simply stopped thinking about it. After all, evolution is always good, because after evolution, not only will it be more handsome, but its strength will also be greatly increased. Generally, if there is nothing to do, Nobi Daichi will put the luxury ball containing Charmander in the system space, because it is safer than putting it on himself. At the same time, it is obviously irrational to show off with Charmander on the street. The system says that living things cannot be stored in the system space, but the luxury ball containing Charmander can be placed in the system space. Is this another system loophole? But this loophole is good, so Nobi Daichi doesn't plan to fill it. As for letting Charmeleon stay in the luxury ball, there is no problem with that. The luxury ball is called the luxury ball, not because of its golden and luxurious appearance, but because of its internal space. The chat group of all heavens is just a medium for the protagonist to travel to another world, and it is not forcibly cancelled by the author. Chapter 149 Mancore, Prologue. The space in the luxury ball is large enough for Charmander to survive, and there are various game facilities, medical facilities, food facilities, etc. Of course, Nobi Daichi will occasionally release Charmander to cultivate feelings, but he has been busy recently and even forgot. Thinking about these things, Nobi Daichi found that Nobita had gotten up when he didn't notice. Hey, Charmander is really different from Pizu. It took so long to grow so big. Nobita walked to the front of Charmander and touched Charmander's head affectionately. But when talking about Pizu, Nobita couldn't hide the sadness in his eyes. Roar. Charmander enjoyed Nobita's touch and cried twice comfortably. Nobita Daichi really wanted to comfort Nobita and said, "You can see him again in the future." But after hesitating for a few times, he gave up and finally sighed. Maybe this is the price you have to pay for growing up. Nobita Daichi muttered to himself. Dazi, what are you talking about? Nobita seemed to have heard Nobita Daichi's mumbling and said strangely, "Nothing, nothing, haha." Nobi Daichi laughed. Nobita Daichi. The voices of Fat Tiger and Sunia suddenly came from outside the window. Nobita walked to the window, opened it, and looked down. Standing on the street were Fat Tiger and Sunia. Nobita also came to the window after hearing Fat Tiger and Sunia's voices. "Come to the vacant lot this afternoon, I'll show you something," Sunia said mysteriously to Nobita and Daichi. Okay. Nobita and Nobita agreed at the same time after hearing Sunia's words. Then Sunia and Fat Tiger each took a baseball cap and a baseball bat and left. Daichi, what do you think Sunia and Fat Tiger want us to see? Nobita turned around and walked to the chair next to the desk and said to Nobita Daichi, "Maybe it's a robot." Nobita Daichi said, after thinking for a while. "Robot? Daichi, how do you know it's a robot?" Intuition. Looking at Nobita, who was looking at him curiously, Nobita Daichi smiled. "What? Just say you guessed it." Nobita pouted. "By the way, Daichi, where did Doraemon go?" Although it only took 1 minute for Nobita Daichi to leave the Doraemon world and return to the Doraemon world. But he spent quite a long time in the zombie world and experienced various complicated events. Nobita Daichi thought for a moment before slowly speaking to Nobita. Maybe he went to the future department store to buy something. "Oh." Nobita said "oh" and didn't say anything else. Soon it was afternoon, and Nobita Daichi and Nobita came to the open space they often visited. "Hey, Shizuka, you're here too?" Nobita said happily to Shizuka, who was sitting on a small hill made of 3 short hollow stone pillars. At the same time, he ran towards Shizuka excitedly while talking. Looking at Nobita like this, Nobita Daichi shook his head helplessly. "It's still Nobita. Nobita. Daichi." After seeing Nobita and Nobita, Shizuka also waved to Nobita and Nobita with a smile on her face. Then Nobita also trotted in front of Nobita and Shizuka. Since only 2 people can sit on the small hill, Nobita can only stand in front of Nobita and Shizuka. "Shizuka, are you also called by Sunia and Fat Tiger to see that mysterious thing?" Nobita turned to Shizuka and asked. "Yes," Shizuka said as a matter of course. Looking at Shizuka and Nobita chatting, Nobita said nothing. The next moment, Nobita's attention was attracted by a robot about 1 meter tall, whose body color was mostly dark blue, walking from the street. Is it really that movie version? Nobita thought secretly in his heart. At the same time, Nobita and Shizuka's attention was also attracted by the dark blue robot that suddenly appeared in front of them. The dark blue robot came over from the street and circled around Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Shizuka for a few times. Then it stopped in front of Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Shizuka and started to perform acrobatics. The dark blue robot did many actions that only humans can do and walked back and forth on the ground. Maybe because it was made of special metal, every step of the dark blue robot, Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Shizuka could feel the slightest and almost imperceptible vibration from the ground. "Wow, it's amazing," Shizuka said excitedly as she looked at the dark blue robot in front of her. At the same time, maybe because she was too excited, layers of light blush appeared on her face. Nobita saw that Shizuka had such a big reaction. Although he was a little jealous in his heart, he still had an indifferent expression on his face and said disdainfully with his hands folded across his chest, "What's so great about it? It's obvious that Sunia's cousin made it." "Hey, Nobita, you're right. My cousin made it. But so what? It's my own fault that I have such a cousin." "Who told you that you don't have such a cousin?" As if they heard Nobita's disdainful words, Sunia and Fat Tiger came out from a hidden place on the street. Then Sunia and Fat Tiger walked towards where Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Shizuka were. Sunia held a remote control in his hand and controlled the dark blue robot from time to time. The words just now were said by Sunia to refute Nobita. After hearing what Sunia said, Nobita still looked nonchalant. "What's so great about this? I have a robot as tall as a building." Hahaha. After hearing Nobita's words, Sunia and Fat Tiger laughed, obviously not believing it. Shizuka, who was sitting with Nobita, also laughed softly. After all, they have heard too many such words from Nobita. Nobi Daichi did not laugh. Looking at the situation, he was very sure that it was the movie version. After laughing enough, Sunia retorted, "I guess Doraemon can't even produce a robot like that. You." Nobita jumped down from the hill, pointed his finger at Sunia, and wanted to say something. "Nicholas, attack." Then the dark blue robot fired bullets from the center of its palm to attack Nobita. Nobita could only defend himself randomly and didn't care about saying anything else. Nobita had no choice but to barely bypass Nicholas and then run home. Nobita Daichi saw this and followed Nobita and ran towards home, a laboratory with a futuristic atmosphere. Thanks to the reader Super Avenue Hang Meng Supreme for voting for a monthly ticket. Chapter 115 Mechanical Utopia. An old man in a white coat was busy beside 2 experimental chambers. There were 2 robots as tall as adults in the experimental chambers. From the outside, they were a man and a woman. At this time, a song that the old scientist liked to listen to was playing in the laboratory. The first one was Love, You and I Are the Same. The second one was Wish, You Are You, and I'm Me. The third one was Yearning, You Are Me, and I'm You. It should be almost done. The old scientist put down a certain instrument in his hand and said to himself, while looking at the 3 stars on the hearts of the 2 robots, "This will definitely become the paradise of my dreams in the future." Looking at the 2 robots Yam and Sham made by himself, the old scientist suddenly showed a liberated smile on his face. Then he sat on a seat next to the 2 robots. In this way, the old scientist fell into a deep sleep and never woke up again. Not long after the old scientist fell into a sleep, the 2 robots Yam and Sham lying in the experimental chamber opened their eyes and woke up one after another. 30,000 years later, the mechanical utopia. This is a huge circular venue, similar to the venue for international basketball or football games, except that the color of this venue is mostly cold metallic colors. The sky is the blood red light of the setting sun. At this time, a large number of robots have gathered in this place. Bang, bang, bang. On the circular platform, the robot captain of the mechanical ideal kingdom stood. One shoulder was black, and the rest of the body was mostly yellow-green. The robot with a cloak behind him was holding an iron spear in his hand and hitting the metal ground. Soldiers of the mechanical ideal kingdom, the place we are going to invade this time is called Earth. The robot captain of the mechanical ideal kingdom picked up the spear in his hand and waved it. A 3D model of the Earth appeared above the entire venue, allowing every citizen of the mechanical ideal kingdom in this venue to see it. Invade the Earth. Invade the Earth. Invade the Earth. When the citizens of the mechanical ideal kingdom saw the beautiful planet floating in the sky, they shouted excitedly. The entire venue was resounding with the excited shouts of the citizens of the mechanical ideal kingdom. Quiet. Bang, bang, bang. After the captain of the robot utopia repeatedly knocked the iron spear in his hand, the whole venue became quiet. Then a door under the circular venue suddenly opened, and a girl walked out. This girl has flowing pink hair, dark blue eyes, deep eyeballs, 2 strands of hair leaning towards her right eye, long hair to her waist, and a good figure. Lulu, as the vanguard this time, you will go to the Earth to investigate and make some preparations. Remember, the only purpose of your creation is to invade the Earth. If you fail to complete the mission, there is no need for you to exist. Yes. Lulu knelt on one knee and said respectfully to the captain of the robot utopia. When she looked up, Lulu's dark blue eyes were full of coldness. Nobi Daichi was about to return home after Nobita. Sunia and the others are really bullying. Walking on the street, Nobita said indignantly to Nobi Daichi, "Brother, actually you shouldn't brag." Nobi Daichi tried to persuade. I don't care. I must make Sunia and Fat Tiger look bad. I believe Doraemon will definitely find a way." Nobita said this and became very proud. When they returned home and went to the second floor, Nobita saw Doraemon sitting on the tatami, eating dorayaki and reading comics, and ran over excitedly. There was a fish tank in front of Doraemon. However, Nobi Daichi was one step faster than Nobita and sat next to Doraemon first and said to Doraemon, "Doraemon, have you bought things from the future department store?" Yeah. Doraemon said vaguely while eating dorayaki. Then Nobita also sat next to Doraemon and told Doraemon what happened just now. "Doraemon, I want a blue robot that can also launch missiles. Don't you already have one?" Doraemon put down the dorayaki in his hand and said to Nobita expressionlessly, "Where is it?" Nobita asked in confusion. Then Doraemon pointed at himself. "Blue." Nobita looked at Doraemon. "Yeah. One that can launch missiles." Doraemon took out a missile half the height of a man from his 4-dimensional pocket and then put the missile back into his 4-dimensional pocket. What a joke. Nobita was unhappy. "I don't want a robot like you." "Nobita, stop kidding." Doraemon was a little angry. I don't care. I just want a robot as tall as a building." "Humph, Nobita, you are too unreasonable." Then Doraemon took out the anywhere door. Doraemon, what are you going to do?" Nobita asked in confusion. "Didn't you say you didn't want a robot like me?" "I'm very angry. I'm going to calm down." Doraemon opened the anywhere door and disappeared in the vast snow. This, for some reason, Nobita suddenly regretted it. Daichi, what should we do now? Nobita could only ask Nobi Daichi helplessly. What else can we do? We need to find Doraemon first. Nobi Daichi looked at Nobita and said with some regret, "Oh, that's right." Then Nobita rushed into the anywhere door. Looking at Nobita like this, Nobi Daichi had no choice. You should put on more clothes first. After all, it's so cold over there in the Arctic. However, this also reflects that Doraemon means a lot to Nobita, although they haven't been together for a long time. Then Nobi Daichi followed and entered the anywhere door. After that, he saw Nobita, who had already run for a long distance. Hiss, it's so cool. Nobi Daichi, who had goosebumps all over his body due to the cold wind from the Arctic, took a breath of cold air. Without any hesitation, Nobi Daichi ran forward a few steps and transformed into Emperor Man. Then he ran towards Nobita and ran to Nobita's side in an instant. Hey, Daichi, why are you here too? Nobita seemed to be unaware of the coldness and said to Nobi Daichi, who had transformed into Emperor Man, "Doraemon is also my good friend. How can I not come?" Nobita rolled his eyes. Of course, because he was wearing the Emperor armor, no one could see. Oh, Nobita said and continued to run forward. Nobita supported his forehead and said to Nobita, "Nobita, aren't you cold?" Nobita, who was about to look for Doraemon, felt cold when he heard Nobita's words and then yawned. TSK thank you reader 201902252240135644 for voting for 2 monthly tickets. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, Finding Doraemon. It seems to be quite cold. Nobita suddenly crossed his arms and trembled. What should I do? I'll go find Doraemon. You go back first. This. Nobita hesitated for a moment before saying, "Okay, Daichi, you must find Doraemon." "Yes." Nobi Daichi nodded. Then, under Nobi Daichi's gaze, Nobita returned home through the portal. Turning his head, there was a tall iceberg in the distance, and the transparent ice under his feet reflected a dazzling light under the sunlight. Although the ice surface was slippery, it had no effect on Nobi Daichi, who had transformed into Emperor Man. Nobita Daichi found a direction and ran forward. Finding the right direction was to avoid getting lost. If he got lost in such a place, he could only wait for Nobita and Doraemon to save him. His goal was not only to find Doraemon, but also to find the bull that could control the Santa Samurai, that is, the robot as tall as a building. Of course, finding Doraemon is the first priority. Although Doraemon did not encounter any accidents in the original work, it is possible that he will bring about a butterfly effect. After running for a long distance, Nobi Daichi did not find Doraemon, but found the bull. After picking up the bull, a crack several meters long suddenly appeared in the space above Nobi Daichi. Seeing this, Nobi Daichi hurriedly left the place. Bang! Then a metal more than 1 meter long fell from the crack above. When the metal fell, the crack above disappeared. Nobi Daichi walked up and took a look. It seemed to be the foot of the Christmas warrior. Then Nobi Daichi dragged the foot of the Christmas warrior and rushed to the arbitrary door with the bull. Soon Nobi Daichi returned to the arbitrary door and then took the foot of the Christmas warrior and the bull into the room. "Hey, Daichi, you are back. Did you find Doraemon?" Nobita, who was restless on the tatami, said excitedly when he saw Nobi Daichi coming back. But when he saw that there was no Doraemon behind Nobita Daichi, he felt something was wrong. "I haven't found Doraemon yet, but I found this." Nobita Daichi put down the foot of the Christmas warrior and then handed the metal bull that could control the Christmas warrior to Nobita. "What is this?" Looking at the bull in his hand, Nobita was immediately attracted by it and did not talk about Doraemon for the time being. But soon Nobita's eyes were attracted by the metal foot of the Christmas warrior lying on the ground. "What is this, Daichi? And, Daichi, how did you find it?" Nobita put down the metal bull in his hand and looked at the metal foot of the Christmas warrior lying on the ground and asked Nobita Daichi, "Don't worry about this, and maybe you will know it yourself in a while." I'll go find Doraemon first, Nobita Daichi said, and entered the North Pole through the portal again. Hey, Daichi. Nobita looked at Nobita Daichi entering the portal again and wanted to call him, but stopped talking after thinking of Doraemon. Carefully touching the foot of the Santa warrior on the ground, Nobita muttered to himself, "What on earth is this? Why does it look like a foot?" Through the portal, Nobita Daichi once again came to the Arctic continent. No, or it would be more appropriate to call it the Arctic ice continent. This time, Nobita Daichi changed a direction, and after searching for a while, he still did not find Doraemon. So he changed another direction to search. After all, Doraemon should not be able to go far at his speed. I hope there will be no accidents. The snow in the sky was getting heavier and heavier, and Nobita Daichi stopped on a cliff and said with some worry. A dozen meters below him was a large and small body of water. This body of water was different from other places, and it was not completely frozen. Well, that blue ice block was pretty good. Nobita Daichi had originally planned to leave here to search for Doraemon and other places, but he suddenly stopped at this time. Blue ice block. Then Nobita Daichi hurriedly focused all his attention on the blue ice block. When Nobi Daichi didn't pay attention, he just thought it was a strange piece of ice, but now he looked carefully. Isn't there Doraemon in the ice? But how could Doraemon fall into the water and be frozen? Nobi Daichi just had a few thoughts in his mind. Then he jumped directly from the cliff more than 10 meters high to the place where Doraemon was frozen below. Bang! Nobi Daichi splashed a lot of water after jumping into the water. He swam from underwater to the surface and then swam to the side of Doraemon frozen in the ice. Doraemon in the ice closed his eyes and curled up his limbs. From this, we can know that Doraemon must have been very cold at that time. It's a problem that I can't fly. Holding the ice that froze Doraemon, looking at the iceberg more than 10 meters high behind him, Nobi Daichi was a little helpless. Next to Nobi Daichi was an ice block several meters wide and several meters long. Nobi Daichi thought about it and then swam to the front of the ice block with Doraemon. He first put Doraemon on the ice block and then Nobi Daichi climbed up. It's pretty solid. After saying this casually, Nobi Daichi turned around and looked at the cliffs more than 10 meters high behind him. Then he picked up the ice block that froze Doraemon with both hands and wanted to throw Doraemon directly up. It was easy to do this with the strength of the Emperor Armor. But after thinking about it, Nobi Daichi put Doraemon down again. Because Nobi Daichi suddenly remembered that Doraemon was in the ice block at this time. If he threw Doraemon directly up, he didn't know where Doraemon would slide to when he went up again. What should I do? Looking at the iceberg in front of him, Nobi Daichi became anxious. Nobita must be worried if he didn't go back for so long. Oh, I can jump on it with Doraemon. Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi picked up Doraemon and gathered his strength with his feet to get ready. Bang! Splash! Swimming from underwater to the surface, looking at Doraemon floating next to him, Nobi Daichi felt helpless. It turned out that the ice was too brittle and cracked. This iceberg can't be so high. Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi swam around the iceberg with Doraemon in his arms. After a while, Nobi Daichi really found a low ground. So Nobi Daichi swam to the iceberg with Doraemon in his arms, and then ran towards the direction of the anywhere door. Soon he came to the anywhere door, and returned to the bedroom on the second floor through the anywhere door. Not long after Nobi Daichi and Doraemon disappeared from the iceberg, the sky, which was originally just a little snow, suddenly began to snow blizzard. Chapter 117, Reverse World Enters Oil. In the snow, a girl with long pink hair walked up from a hillside. She stopped on the hillside and looked around. Lilulu was puzzled. Strange, it's here, why is it gone? Then Lilulu took out a detector and pressed it a few times. The red light on the detector lit up a few times. Looking at the direction pointed by the antenna on the detector, Lilulu smiled. Found it. Then Lilulu flew in the direction indicated by the antenna on the detector and soon disappeared in the snow. Nobi Daichi held the frozen Doraemon through the random door and entered the second floor bedroom. But at this time, there was no Nobita in the second floor bedroom. Not only was there no Nobita, but there were no balls and metal feet. However, Nobi Daichi didn't have time to care about these things now, but hurried downstairs to the bathroom and put Doraemon in the bathtub. The temperature in the Arctic is indeed very low, but it is summer in Tokyo, Japan at this time. Therefore, the ice wrapped around Doraemon melted quickly. Fortunately, Nobita Mako was not at home at this time, otherwise it would take a lot of time to explain. After the ice wrapped around Doraemon melted, Doraemon opened his eyes and woke up. Seeing Nobi Daichi, who had lifted the Emperor Man transformation, Doraemon blurted out his doubts. "Hey, Daichi, is it? Did you save me? I remember that I seemed to fall from the iceberg into the water, and then it was too cold, and I didn't know what happened. You fell into the water and were frozen, and then floated on the water, so I found you." Nobi Daichi explained that he lifted the Emperor Man transformation after putting Doraemon in the bathtub. "Oh, so that's it. Sorry to bother you." Doraemon scratched his head, then climbed out of the bathtub, a little ashamed. It's okay, who makes us good friends?" Nobi Daichi smiled. Looking at Nobi Daichi, who didn't care at all, Doraemon also breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, "Where did Nobita go? Maybe he's in the yard." Nobita thought for a moment and said, "If Nobita is not in the bedroom on the second floor, then the most likely possibility is that Nobita is in the yard. Then let's go find him." "Okay." Then Nobita and Doraemon walked towards the yard. When they arrived at the yard, they found Nobita and a pile of red, blue, and white metal accessories. "Nobita, what are you doing? And what are these?" Doraemon walked up and pointed at the pile of metal accessories on the ground and asked curiously. When Nobita saw Doraemon and Nobita coming over, he ran to Doraemon and said excitedly, "Doraemon, great, you're finally back. I apologize to you for my previous wrong behavior. I knew you cared about me the most, so don't pretend you made all these." Then Nobita thanked Nobita again. "Thank you, Daichi. What is there to thank me for? After all, Doraemon is not only your good friend, but also my good friend." Nobita Daichi smiled and didn't care about it. Then Nobita ran to the pile of metal accessories and fiddled with them. While fiddling with them, Nobita said excitedly, "I looked at the metal accessories I have now. I think with the other metal accessories summoned by the next ball, I should be able to assemble a robot. And these metal accessories are so big, I guess the robot assembled in the end will be almost as tall as a building." Looking at Nobita with an excited face, Doraemon said in frustration, "But Nobita, I know you are very happy, but these are really not made by me." This. Nobita scratched his head awkwardly, at a loss. "If this has an owner, we have to return it." When he said this, Doraemon said with a serious face, "No, absolutely not." Nobita stretched out his arms to protect the metal accessories behind him and said excitedly, "Doraemon, I don't think anyone wants these. I guess Nobita knows that these metal accessories are all summoned by that ball. And that ball was found when I was searching for you, Doraemon, in the Arctic." Nobita pointed to the metal ball in Nobita's hand. At this time, the multiple holes on the metal ball held by Nobita flashed red lights several times. Then another piece of metal accessories fell from a crack in the air. Nobita hurriedly dodged to avoid hitting him. "Well, okay." Doraemon heard Nobita's explanation and looked at Nobita's hopeful eyes and said helplessly, "But it's not a good idea to put so many things here. If my mother finds out, she might treat them as garbage." Nobita said meaningfully, "Then use the magic wallpaper house." After hearing Nobita's words, Nobita said without saying a word, "It seems that using the magic wallpaper house is not impossible, but in this case, Nobita, you can't assemble it, because the magic wallpaper house is not that high." Nobita pointed out the shortcomings of the magic wallpaper house. "It's okay, we can just shrink these metal parts and assemble them." Nobita always reacts so quickly when he encounters something he cares about. "But Nobita, don't you want a robot as tall as a building?" "That's true, I shouldn't want such a big robot," Nobita said a little discouraged. Looking at Nobi Daichi and Nobita, who were talking to each other almost without breathing, Doraemon was about to say something, but was interrupted by Nobita again. "By the way, Doraemon, don't you have a mirror world? That should be enough." The mirror world is indeed possible, but the space to enter the mirror world is so small. Doraemon took out a transparent glass that was more than 10 centimeters wide. "Alas, I shouldn't. It doesn't matter, just use the mirror world." Doraemon, this is indeed not possible." Doraemon waved the transparent glass in his hand and said, "But you can use this." Doraemon put the transparent glass into the 4-dimensional pocket and then took out a bottle of oil from the 4-dimensional pocket. Reverse world entry oil. Just drop this on the water or a smooth surface and you can enter the mirror world. Then let's do it. Doraemon smiled. Okay, Nobita said excitedly. Nobi Daichi was of course listening to the conversation between Doraemon and Nobita. But now he was thinking more about how to resist the crisis that the Earth was about to face. He could indeed find the godlike man now and change history like in the original work, but Chapter 118 Idea Invention Machine. But Lulu will disappear, and since she didn't experience the cause and effect of the original work, Lulu probably won't become an angel in the end. In short, Lulu will completely disappear from this world, which is what he doesn't want to see. So now it seems that the only way is to resist? Is fate really unchangeable? Nobi Daichi thought deeply. Hey, Daichi, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Nobi Daichi was so absorbed in thinking about these things that he looked at Nobita and Doraemon who were worried and said apologetically, "It's okay, I was just thinking too much about something." "Oh, then let's get ready now," Doraemon said and walked towards the room on the second floor. Nobi Daichi and Nobita followed closely behind, and when they arrived at the room on the second floor, Doraemon first took out the indoor fishing pond. Indoor fishing pond. Fishing can be done without leaving home, which is very convenient. Apply the oil of the opposite world on the pool, and it will become a mirror of the opposite world. After setting the fishing address, it can also be linked to a puddle or even the sea. The indoor fishing pond is more than 2 meters wide and more than 4 meters long. After spreading the indoor fishing pond and turning on the switch, Doraemon took out the oil for entering the world against the will. After dropping a drop of oil for entering the world against the will on the indoor fishing pond, Doraemon put the bottle of oil for entering the world against the will back into the 4-dimensional pocket. "That's it," Doraemon said happily. "The next thing is to take those metal accessories outside to the mirror world. But they are so heavy, how can I take them?" Nobita said in distress. "Use this. Labor-saving gloves." Doraemon took out 3 pairs of gloves from the 4-dimensional pocket and then handed 2 of them to Nobita and Nobita respectively. Then Nobita and Doraemon began to get busy putting the metal accessories that had been summoned into the mirror world. In order to be faster, Doraemon also took out the bamboo dragonfly for Nobita and Nobita. Nobi Daichi flew to the yard, picked up a small metal accessory, and entered the mirror world through the indoor fishing pond. Bang! Since it was his first time entering the mirror world, Nobi Daichi was not familiar with it. He accidentally fell down because he could not adapt to it for a while, but it was not a big deal. Looking at the mirror world, that was almost the same as the real world, Nobi Daichi was also a little amazed. In a sense, this place can be said to be a paradise on Earth. After adapting to the transition between the mirror world and the real world, Nobi Daichi put the metal accessory in his hand into his yard in the mirror world and returned to the real world through the indoor fishing pond. Then he saw Nobita and Doraemon flying past him with a huge metal accessory. With the busy work of Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon, the metal accessories in the yard were quickly moved into the yard of Nobita's house in the mirror world. Looking at the various metal accessories lying in the yard, Nobi Daichi suggested, "Let's assemble them first." "Okay. If you want to say who is the most active in this matter, it must be Nobita." Soon, Nobita and Doraemon started to assemble. But what discouraged Nobita and Doraemon was that they failed halfway through the assembly because the metal parts were not complete. However, from the rough outline of the half-assembled robot, it can be seen that it is a large robot. "Let's assemble it after the remaining metal parts are available." Nobita looked at the dejected Nobita and Doraemon and comforted them. Yeah, Nobita and Doraemon had no better way, so they could only do this for now. Then through the indoor fishing pond, Nobita and Doraemon returned to the real world. It was already late at night, and only the sunset on the horizon showed a touch of red. There was nothing to say next, and Nobita and Doraemon could only wait. Fortunately, the blue metal ball did not disappoint them. After they finished their meal, the metal ball summoned a bunch of metal parts again. Then Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon moved the metal parts in the yard to the mirror world through the indoor fishing pond. After that, Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon began their assembly work. This time there was no accident. Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon successfully completed the assembly. Great. Looking at the robot that had been assembled and was as tall as a building, Nobita and Doraemon cheered. Let's give it a name, Nobita suddenly said as he looked at Nobi Daichi and Doraemon. Then let's call it Christmas Samurai. Nobi Daichi said slowly. Why did you choose this name? What is the meaning? Doraemon asked curiously. Of course, we found it in the North Pole. The North Pole is winter all year round. And Santa Claus is in winter, and you see he is so majestic. Isn't it just right to match the samurai? It seems to be true. I think it seems to be quite good. Doraemon thought carefully, and it seemed to be just like what Nobi Daichi said. I think it's pretty good. Nobita also said. Nobita laughed secretly. Of course you think it's good. After all, Doraemon gave this name in the original book. Then Nobita flew to the head of the Christmas warrior under the gaze of Nobita and Doraemon and pointed at the head of the Christmas warrior. This place seems to be where the computer is installed. Nobita and Doraemon flew to the head of the Christmas warrior one after another after hearing Nobita's words. Doraemon circled the head of the Christmas warrior for a few circles before saying, well, this is indeed the place where the computer is installed, but we don't seem to have a computer. Doraemon scratched his head helplessly. Then what should I do? Nobita said in distress. The computer is the key to controlling this Christmas warrior. Without the computer, the Christmas warrior can't move. How can we have fun then? Actually, there is a computer. The blue metal ball is it, but, at this time, Nobita finally spoke, but he stopped after a few words. But what? Nobita said anxiously. Doraemon also looked at Nobi Daichi with expectation. That ball may not be easy to control and may be dangerous, so I suggest Doraemon that you modify the metal ball before installing it. But Daichi, how do you know that the metal ball is dangerous? Doraemon was puzzled. Intuition. Nobi Daichi smiled. When encountering the unknown, use intuition. Intuition again. Daichi, can't you say it another way? Nobita curled his lips. But wasn't my intuition very accurate last time? This made Nobita choke. That was just one time. Okay, don't argue. It's not a big deal to modify it. Just modify it for safety. Doraemon persuaded. Doraemon, do you have an idea invention machine? Lend it to me. Thanks to the Reader Dadashan Constellation for voting for a monthly ticket. Christmas Warrior, with photos. Lilulu, with photos. Chapter 119, Making Armor. HMM. Doraemon, who was taking out the modified props from the 4-dimensional pocket, suddenly stopped what he was doing after hearing what Nobi Daichi said. Daichi, what do you want the idea invention machine for? Doraemon was a little confused. It's hard to say now. I'll tell you after I finish it. Is that so? Then I'll give it to you first. Doraemon thought about it and took out the idea invention machine from the 4-dimensional pocket. Then he told Nobi Daichi how to use the idea invention machine. Although Nobi Daichi already knew how to use the idea invention machine, he still listened carefully to Doraemon's explanation. Because Doraemon said it in more detail. Idea invention machine. It is a prop that can provide the method of making the required invention. As long as you have this machine, you can make all kinds of props. If you need something, just tell the machine's microphone what you want, and this prop will provide the method of making it, but you still need to make it yourself. After telling Nobi Daichi everything he needed to explain, Doraemon handed the idea invention machine in his hand to Nobi Daichi. Nobi Daichi took the idea inventing machine from Doraemon and looked at it carefully. Well, from the outside, nothing can be seen. Is this the thing that can invent many props? Nobi Daichi was a little confused. The reason why he said that it can invent many props instead of inventing all props is because Doraemon just mentioned some limitations of this idea inventing machine. The idea inventing machine can indeed invent many things, even magical props. But not everything or props can be invented with it. Otherwise department stores will go bankrupt in the future. Maybe there is really an inventing machine that can invent some magical props, but Doraemon obviously doesn't have it now. After handing the idea inventing machine to Nobi Daichi, Doraemon went to modify the blue metal ball. Nobita followed behind Doraemon. At this time, it was already night in both the real world and the mirror world. but now it is only night, but it is not time to go to bed. Nobi Daichi thought about it and decided that it would be better to go and see Doraemon and Nobita modify the metal ball first. It would be bad if something unexpected happened. Then Nobi Daichi flew to the second floor room of his house in the mirror world. When Nobi Daichi flew to the second floor room, he saw Doraemon and Nobita circling the blue metal ball. At this time, the blue metal ball was constantly making sounds and jumping. "Hey, Daichi, why are you here too?" Nobita looked at Nobi Daichi curiously. "Aren't you going to invent something with the electronic invention machine?" Just now when Doraemon introduced the idea invention machine, Nobita also listened. So he knew what Nobi Daichi was going to invent with the electronic invention machine. But why did Nobi Daichi come to them again now? It's okay to wait for a while for what I want to invent, and I'm also curious about this thing. Nobi Daichi pointed to the blue metal ball that was jumping. "Oh." Nobita said "oh" and didn't say anything else. Doraemon also saw Nobi Daichi coming, but he didn't say anything, but stared at the blue metal ball in front of him. After a few seconds, Doraemon said to Nobita and Nobi Daichi, "I always feel that it is saying something, so let's do this." Translation konjac. Doraemon took out a piece of translation konjac from his 4-dimensional pocket and placed it on the metal ball. "Where did you earthlings take my body? Give it back to me quickly, otherwise you will be finished when our machine Utopia Army arrives." Doraemon just put the translation konjac on the blue metal ball, and before he could say anything, he heard the blue metal ball say a bunch of aggressive words. Then Doraemon was shocked. Someone is going to invade the Earth. Or a country. Machine Utopia. Nobita, who was standing aside, also changed from expecting to being shocked. Only Nobi Daichi had a calm expression on his face. Nobita looked at the calm expression on Nobi Daichi's face, and at this time he couldn't help but doubt what he said to Nobi Daichi before. Intuition, is it really so accurate? How could Nobita know that what Nobi Daichi said was not intuition, but the truth? What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and bring my body here, and follow me. After our mechanical utopia conquers the Earth, I can ask the higher-ups to spare your lives. The blue metal ball didn't notice the increasingly angry and frightened expressions on Doraemon and Nobita's faces, and was still talking to himself. Nobita even picked up the chair under the desk and smashed it at the blue metal ball. Bang, bang. The blue metal ball stopped talking immediately, and smoke began to come out at the same time. "Zzzz, you actually dare to hit me, you're done." After the blue metal ball said a few words, it didn't say anything else, as if there was something wrong. Doraemon was stunned for a moment when he saw Nobita hitting the blue metal ball with a chair. Then he saw the blue metal ball was about to be broken by Nobita, so he rushed over and pressed the chair in Nobita's hand to stop it. "Stop hitting it, or it will break if you hit it again." Huff, huff. Nobita, who had hit the blue metal ball several times with a chair, finally stopped, breathing heavily. "Doraemon, modify it into a partner that is beneficial to us." Nobi Daichi turned to Doraemon after seeing Nobita finally recovering to normal. "Well, I'll modify it right away." Doraemon nodded hurriedly after hearing Nobi Daichi's words. Then he turned around and took the modification props on the floor and began to modify the blue metal ball. Bang, bang, ding, ding. Nobita stood aside, watching Doraemon modify the blue metal ball, and Nobi Daichi came to the living room downstairs in order not to disturb Doraemon, and also in order for Doraemon not to disturb him. After placing the idea invention machine on the floor, Nobi Daichi thought for a while. Nobita, Doraemon, Fat Tiger, Sunir and he are all children, and their height and body shape are a little different from the robots in the mechanical utopia, so he decided to solve this problem first. And to solve this problem, he thought of a way. He transformed into Emperor Man with an adult body shape and adult height. What if Nobita, Shizuka, Fat Tiger and Sunir also wear armor? So Nobi Daichi decided to try to make armor first. Make Flame Dragon armor. Zizzy. Cannot make it. Make. Thanks to the reader damn armor, I have penetrated the enemy's interior for the reward of 300 starting coins. Chapter 120 Masked Rider armor. Make Earth Tiger armor. Zizzy. Cannot make it. Then Nobi Daichi mentioned the Wind Eagle armor, Black Rhino armor, and Snow Mastiff armor. As a result, they could not be made just like the Flame Dragon armor and Earth Tiger armor. Why can't it be made? Is it because the 5-element armor is too special? Nobi Daichi couldn't help but think. Oh, there seems to be Shura armor, Xingqian armor. Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi tried it again. Well, it still didn't work. As for the Emperor armor, he didn't try it because it was clear that the idea invention machine couldn't make the Emperor armor. If these don't work, then I can only try those. Some armor phantoms appeared in Nobi Daichi's mind. Kamen Rider. This was the last feasible method that Nobi Daichi thought of after trying the 5-element armor, Shura armor, Xingqian armor and other armors, and finding that they all didn't work. And Nobi Daichi thought that Kamen Rider should be more in line with the aesthetics of Nobita, Shizuka, Fat Tiger and Tsunia. Of course, he just estimated it, but in fact, whether it is the 5-element armor, Shura armor, etc., or Kamen Rider, they are all very handsome, even in the eyes of him who has partial memories of his previous life. But which Kamen Rider should be made? There are many Kamen Riders, and Nobi Daichi has seen many of them. But there are very few that Nobi Daichi has seen, or that he still remembers clearly. Then these are it. Kamen Rider, Spiked Scorpion form the basic form of transformation using the Destruction Thunder Force Sublimator and the Spiked Scorpion program sublimation key. Photo, Kamen Rider, Thousand Knight. The basic form of transformation using the ZAI 1000 driver and the Amazing South Sea Giant Beetle program sublimation key and the Awakened Brutus Extinction sublimation key. Photo, Kamen Rider, Assault Wolf. Assault Wolf form. This is an enhanced form that uses the Ames Shooting Sublimator and the Assault Wolf program sublimation key. Photo, Kamen Rider, Death. This is a basic form that uses the Destruction Thunder Force Sublimator and the Japanese Wolf Extinction sublimation key. Photo, Kamen Rider, Sprint Cheetah. Sprint Cheetah form. This is a basic form that uses the Ames Shooting Sublimator and the Sprint Cheetah program sublimation key. Photo, Nobi Daichi has come up with a total of 5 Kamen Riders. Make Kamen Rider, Spiked Scorpion. Zizzy. It can be made. Printing the manufacturing method. Hearing this, Nobi Daichi breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Kamen Rider can be made, otherwise he would have to think about it again. However, Nobi Daichi thought about it carefully and felt that it was normal. After all, the Kamen Riders he just mentioned can be made with technology. Looking at the idea inventing machine that was printing the manufacturing method, Nobi Daichi was hesitant. He only mentioned 5 Kamen Riders because he already had the Emperor armor, so he didn't think about making another Kamen Rider armor. But after thinking about it, he decided to make another Kamen Rider armor. Thinking of this, another Kamen Rider appeared in Nobi Daichi's mind. Kamen Rider 01. Metal Atom Cluster Locust form. Use the hidden 01 driver and the Metal Atom Cluster Locust program sublimation key to transform into a super enhanced form. Photo, the idea inventing machine quickly printed out the manufacturing method. Nobi Daichi took out the method printed by the idea inventing machine and took a look. Well, I couldn't understand it at all. But it doesn't matter, as long as you know how to operate it. There are some buttons on the idea inventing machine. Just press them according to the steps it prints. Because the idea inventing machine so-called letting you make it yourself is just to let you experience the sense of accomplishment of making it yourself. If you really let you make it yourself, for example, you won't be able to assemble it, even if you are given a bunch of parts. But it can't be exactly the same as the original. After all, in the original work, transforming into certain Kamen Riders requires specific conditions. And there are also considerable requirements for physical fitness, and even if the physical fitness is not up to standard, there will be extremely strong side effects. Thinking about the huge side effects that the Metal Atomic Cluster Locust form of the Kamen Rider 01 that he created for himself brought to the protagonist Hidden Auto in the original work, Nobi Daichi was a little scared when he thought about it, but after that training, I feel that my physical fitness should be much higher than that of an average adult. After all, Nobi Daichi once had a physique several times that of an adult, so he still has some understanding of his own qualities. Based on the current physical fitness, it may not be impossible to adapt to the Metal Atomic Cluster Locust form of Kamen Rider 01. But for safety, let's do this. Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi casually threw away the paper printed by the idea invention machine. Then Nobi Daichi walked in front of the idea invention machine and explained his requirements. The main thing is to remove the various special requirements for Kamen Rider transformation, including the requirements for physical fitness. At the same time, the huge defect of being mentally confused after transforming into Kamen Rider was removed, which is mainly aimed at Doraemon. That's right, Nobi Daichi also prepared a Kamen Rider armor for Doraemon. But I don't know whether Doraemon will transform at that time. He didn't set the transformation permission for the other 5 Kamen Rider armors, which means that anyone who gets it can transform. But he set the permission for the Kamen Rider he made for himself, 01. Only he can use it. Although the power of Kamen Rider is completely incomparable to the complete version of the Emperor armor. But in some cases, it is more appropriate to use Kamen Rider, such as some low-level martial arts worlds. That's right, Nobi Daichi has decided to take the Kamen Rider armor to other worlds. As for the magical props in Doraemon's 4-dimensional pocket, Nobi Daichi has thought about taking it to other worlds or planes. But the system doesn't allow it, saying that there are some rules restrictions, and his current strength is too low, so he can't take Doraemon's props to other worlds or planes. I don't know what will happen in the future, but at least it's not possible now. Just now, he asked the system, and found that the Kamen Rider armor can be used in other worlds, which made him a little happy. The Emperor armor he obtained at the beginning can no longer be understood or explained by technology. Judging from the current situation, even if the system didn't say it. But Nobi Daichi has already guessed or deduced some shortcomings of the Emperor armor. Of course, these are not the most important things now. The most important thing now is to quickly make the Kamen Rider belt and key. After sorting out his requirements in his mind, Nobi Daichi told his requirements to the idea invention machine. Zizzy. Can be made. Start printing. I don't like to use English letters to represent Kamen Rider, the one of the protagonist. Ahem. It's a bit special. Chapter 121 Manufacturing completed. Under the watchful eyes of Nobi Daichi, the idea inventing machine quickly printed out the paper with the steps. While looking at the steps on the paper and the button on the idea inventing machine, Nobi Daichi pressed it without hesitation. Click. Click. After Nobi Daichi pressed the button on the idea inventing machine, the idea inventing machine started to work. A few minutes later, the first yellow driver was produced by the idea inventing machine. It was the hidden 01 driver he made for himself. Although the summoner of Kamen Rider is called a driver or a sublimator, etc. But from the appearance, the driver and the summoner such as the 5-element armor are just the same. As for the sublimator, it is different. Although it can also transform into Kamen Rider, its form is diverse. It is hard to say who is stronger between the Kamen Rider who transforms with the driver and the Kamen Rider who transforms with the sublimator. Because this involves many factors. The first is the strength of the driver and the sublimator itself. The second is the strength of the sublimation key required for transformation. Most sublimation keys are about the same size and shape as tapes, but the color is not a single black. There are red, blue, purple and other colors. A driver or sublimator can be transformed into different forms with different sublimation keys, which is very different from the 5-element armor and the like. Although there are many sublimation keys, so far Nobi Daichi has only equipped each Kamen Rider with one form, including himself. As for whether there will be other forms in the future, that's another story. After the production of the hidden 01 driver was completed, the metal atomic cluster locust program sublimation key that was equipped with it was also produced by the idea invention machine. Then there are the other 5 drivers or sublimators. After thinking about it, Nobi Daichi still made some changes. In addition to his own 5 other drivers or sublimators, as long as he said to destroy them, the other 5 drivers or sublimators will be automatically destroyed. It's not that he is selfish or something, but according to the personalities of Nobita, Fat Tiger and Sunia, it is probably impossible to let them return the driver or sublimator after transforming once. As for Shizuka, as a well-behaved and considerate girl, he didn't need to worry about her. If Nobita, Fat Tiger and Sunia were known to be holding the driver or sublimator outside, the consequence would be tantamount to the crime of changing history. Although with the technology of this era, even if they got the Kamen Rider driver or sublimator, they probably wouldn't be able to research anything, but he couldn't take the risk. So he decided to change it. Zizzy, please speak, record the voice. Then Nobi Daichi said a few words casually. Recording successful. Start printing. Looking at the paper printed by the idea invention machine last time, Nobi Daichi was about to throw it away. But immediately he felt that something seemed wrong. What if Nobita picked up this paper and then there was the idea invention machine? Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi not only didn't throw away the paper in his hand, but also picked up the paper on the ground and held it in his hand. The idea invention machine quickly printed out the latest version of the steps. Picking up the paper with the steps printed on it, Nobi Daichi pressed the buttons on the idea invention machine one by one. But then the idea inventing machine started to work. Nobi Daichi ignored the idea inventing machine that was making the other 5 drivers or sublimators. Instead, he looked at the several pieces of paper in his hand. After thinking for a while, Nobi Daichi overlapped the papers in his hand. Then he began to tear them up, trying his best to tear the papers into the smallest state he could tear. Then Nobi Daichi turned on the switch of the bamboo dragonfly and flew out of the French window next to the living room. He held some paper scraps in his hand, and a lot of them fell out from the gaps between his fingers during his flight. But Nobi Daichi didn't care too much. Soon he came to a small river and fell down. Walking to the river, Nobi Daichi threw the scraps of paper in his hand into it and went home. When Nobi Daichi returned to the idea inventing machine again, the idea inventing machine had stopped working. Next to the idea inventing machine were 5 drivers or sublimators. 1000-bit driver, 2 destruction thunder sublimators, and 2 shooting sublimators. There were also 6 sublimation keys. Assault Wolf Program Sublimation Key, Sprint Cheetah Program Sublimation Key, Amazing South Sea Giant Beetle Program Sublimation Key and Awakening Beast Extinction Sublimation Key, Spiked Scorpion Program Sublimation Key, Japanese Wolf Extinction Sublimation Key. Why not 5 sublimation keys? Because Kamen Rider 1000 needs 2 sublimation keys to transform. Amazing South Sea Giant Beetle Program Sublimation Key and Awakening Beast Extinction Sublimation Key. Kamen Rider 1000's driver is a 1000-bit driver. As for Nobi Daichi's hidden 01 driver and Metal Atom Cluster Locust Program Sublimation Key, he put them into the system space. Not everything can be put into the system space. First of all, it must be an inanimate object, and then it must be recognized and agreed by the system. When Nobi Daichi was about to go upstairs to see how Nobita and Doraemon modified the blue metal ball, Nobita and Doraemon opened the door to the living room and walked in at this time. Dazzy, what are you doing? You have to come downstairs to hide from me and Doraemon, and you look so mysterious. As soon as the door was opened, Nobita began to chatter. Nobita walked to the side of the idea invention machine, picked up a shooting sublimator from the 5 drivers or sublimators, and began to think about it. Seeing this, Nobita Daichi was not surprised, but had an expression of expected. Nobita's shooting talent is needless to say, and the shooting sublimator was originally made for Nobita in a sense. Doraemon, how is the modification of the blue metal ball going? Nobita Daichi ignored Nobita, and turned to Doraemon and asked. Oh, that blue metal ball, the modification is almost done. I modified it into our person. Nobita and I also gave it a name, called Judo. What do you think? I think it's very good. Nobita Daichi smiled. Is it really the same as in the original? Hey, Nobita, don't move. Dazzy hasn't said what these things are for yet. Hearing Doraemon's voice, Nobita turned around and looked at Nobita behind him. He found that Nobita was picking up a sublimation key from the ground. Nobita walked up and took a closer look. The sublimation key that Nobita picked up was exactly matched with the shooting sublimator, Assault Wolf Program Sublimation Key. Thanks to the reader 20200117132704560 for the reward of 500 starting coins and 2 monthly tickets. Chapter 122 Demonstration. Dazzy, what is this? Nobita, holding the shooting sublimator in one hand and the Assault Wolf Program Sublimation Key in the other, looked at the 2 things in his hands curiously. Nobita always felt that there was some connection between the 2. If Nobi Daichi knew what Nobita was thinking, he might not be able to help but sigh. Nobita is indeed gifted in some aspects. Brother, you should know that I can transform, right? Seeing the curious look in Nobita's eyes, Nobi Daichi did not hide it and slowly guided him. You mean you can transform into the Emperor warrior you mentioned? Then this, can it be done too? Nobita did not disappoint Nobi Daichi and even said his guess by analogy. Nobi Daichi nodded and Nobita was about to shout excitedly. Nobi Daichi snatched the shooting sublimator and the assault wolf program sublimation key from Nobita's hands. Daichi, what do you mean by this? Looking at the two empty hands, Nobita raised his head and looked at Nobi Daichi in confusion. I'll show you how to transform, Nobi Daichi explained. Oh. Doraemon, who was standing behind Nobi Daichi and Nobita, listened to what they said and didn't react at first. He just looked at Nobi Daichi and Nobita quietly. But when he heard Nobi Daichi talk about what the idea invention mechanism made, an excited look flashed in his eyes. From what Juto said, Doraemon already knew the crisis that the Earth was about to face. If the things made by the idea invention mechanism were really the same as what Nobi Daichi said, the benefits to them would undoubtedly be huge. Walking forward, Doraemon excitedly said to Nobi Daichi, Daichi, is this true? These things can really transform into what you can become? Looking at Doraemon with an excited face and listening to what he said, Nobi Daichi, who had already taken the shooting sublimator and the assault wolf program sublimation key from Nobita, was a little amused and then explained patiently. It's not that you can transform into the same appearance as me, but that you can transform into something that looks almost the same as me. Oh, Doraemon showed a look of realization. Then Nobi Daichi did not explain anything to Doraemon. Instead, he looked at Nobita, who looked impatient, and said, using these two things can indeed transform. At the same time, I also gave the armor after transformation a name, called Kamen Rider. In this era, there are no movies or TV shows about Kamen Rider. As for whether there will be in the future, he doesn't know, and that is not what he needs to consider now. Oh, I know. Daichi, don't explain. Nobita was a little impatient. Seeing this, Nobi Daichi did not explain anything more, but demonstrated the way to transform. Nobi Daichi picked up the shooting sublimator. The shape of the shooting sublimator, as the name suggests, is a gun with a main color of blue. Stand next to me and stay away. Nobi Daichi, holding the shooting sublimator, told Nobita and Doraemon. After Nobi Daichi put the shooting sublimator on his waist, the shooting sublimator automatically extended the belt and fixed it on Nobi Daichi's waist. Nobita on the side stared at Nobi Daichi, not blinking, for fear of missing anything. Although Doraemon was not as exaggerated as Nobita, he also looked at Nobi Daichi seriously. After all, this was related to their future resistance, and they could not be careless. Then Nobi Daichi inserted the assault wolf program sublimation key into the shooting sublimator from the right side. Then, under the gaze of Nobita and Doraemon, Nobi Daichi took the gun on the shooting sublimator from the belt. Nobita, Doraemon. Nobita and Doraemon were both stunned. Is there such an operation? After taking the gun off the shooting sublimator, Nobi Daichi held the gun in both hands and looked forward. Then he shouted, while pressing the gun in his hand, transform. Bang! A blue bullet with a stream of light shot out from the muzzle. At the same time, the electronic transformation sound of the shooting sublimator sounded. Authorization. Shoot an arrow. Shoot the wolf. The bullet will increase in height when it is shot. The blue bullet shot from the muzzle circled around Nobi Daichi several times and then flew from in front of Nobi Daichi to Nobi Daichi. Then Nobi Daichi punched the blue bullet with a stream of light that was flying towards him. Bang! The blue bullet with a stream of light bypassed Nobi Daichi's right hand when it came into contact with his right hand and scattered. Then it gathered on Nobi Daichi's body. After a burst of light, Nobi Daichi successfully completed the transformation. Wow. Looking at this scene, although Nobita and Doraemon had guessed this situation a long time ago, they still couldn't help but exclaimed. After moving his wrist, Nobi Daichi came in front of Doraemon and Nobita. How about it? Isn't this one I designed pretty good? Yeah. Nobita and Doraemon both nodded hurriedly like little chickens pecking at rice. Then Nobi Daichi took the assault wolf program sublimation key from the shooting sublimator. After a flash of light, Nobi Daichi lifted the transformation state and turned back to his original appearance. We don't need these now, Doraemon. Just put them away first. Pointing to the sublimator and sublimation key on the floor, Nobita Daichi said to Doraemon. No, let me try it first. Hearing Nobita Daichi's words, Nobita disagreed. He hasn't played yet, and you just let the game end? Doraemon didn't have any objection to Nobita's request. In his opinion, it didn't matter if he tried it, but he still needed to ask Nobita Daichi's opinion. So he looked at Nobita Daichi and asked Nobita Daichi at the same time. Dazzy, what do you think? It's okay, let me try it. Nobita and Doraemon did not refuse. Because he knew that with Nobita's temper, if he didn't lend it, Nobita would probably make a fuss again, and even come up with a bunch of bad ideas. So in order to reduce trouble, he decided to let Nobita try it first. Great. Nobita saw that Doraemon and Nobita did not stop him, and he jumped 2 feet high with joy. Then he quickly took the shooting sublimator and the assault wolf program sublimation key from Nobita, and started to try it. Nobita asked Doraemon to put away the remaining sublimation keys and sublimators on the ground. After Nobita tried it, he reluctantly handed the shooting sublimator and the assault wolf program sublimation key to Doraemon, and asked Doraemon to put it away. It's getting late. Let's go back to sleep first, Doraemon suggested. Nobi Daichi and Nobita naturally had no objection, because it was indeed quite late. They were silent all night. In the morning, when the sun cast a few rays of sunlight on the window, Nobi Daichi woke up. After thinking before going to bed last night, he always felt that he seemed to have missed something. The transformation reminder sound is set by me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Questioning Jude. What Nobi Daichi made for himself was the hidden 01 driver and the metal atom cluster locust program sublimation key. Using the metal atom cluster locust program sublimation key allows him to transform into a super enhanced form. The maximum jumping force is 102.9 meters, and other aspects are also very strong, but it has a flaw. It can't fly. So after thinking about it, Nobi Daichi decided to make another sublimation key. The Flying Falcon program sublimation key. Although this sublimation key can allow Nobi Daichi to transform into a flying form, the overall strength is far lower than the first metal atom cluster locust program sublimation key. But it doesn't matter, Nobi Daichi only values the flying ability of the Flying Falcon program sublimation key. Do what you say. Fortunately, Doraemon has woken up at this time. Therefore, Nobi Daichi directly asked Doraemon for the idea invention machine again. After hearing what Nobi Daichi said, Doraemon, who was half asleep, took out the idea inventing machine from his 4-dimensional pocket and handed it to Nobi Daichi without saying a word. Through the indoor fishing pond, Nobi Daichi entered the mirror world again. Make the Flying Falcon program sublimation key. Zizzy. It can be made. Start printing. Following the steps on the paper, Nobi Daichi pressed the buttons on the idea inventing machine one by one. Soon the Flying Falcon program sublimation key was made. Taking a deep breath, Nobi Daichi tried his best to calm himself down. Because the next part is the highlight, which is the key to resisting the army of the mechanical utopia. The army of the mechanical utopia is more than thousands, more than tens of thousands. And how many people are there? Counting Fat Tiger, Sunia, and Shizuka, there are only 6 people, maybe one more Nicholas. But even so, their number is still pitifully small. Therefore, Nobi Daichi wanted the idea inventing machine to make a prop that can continuously make robots. Of course, it is not made out of thin air. Because there are many resources in the mines in the mirror world, it can be said that he can call on the resources of the entire world. With these abundant resources, it should be enough to create a robot army that can rival the army of the mechanical utopia. Nobi Daichi thought secretly, but this is just his guess, and he doesn't know whether the result is the same as he thought. After telling his requirements to the idea invention machine, the idea invention machine started again. Seeing this scene, Nobi Daichi breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it can be manufactured. Otherwise, he can only try other methods, such as making a bomb that is enough to destroy the entire Earth. But he just thought about it. It is estimated that it cannot be made. Even if it can be made, it cannot be used, because it cannot eradicate the root cause. When thinking of this, Nobi Daichi couldn't help but feel a headache. After going around and around, he returned to the original starting point. But once the root cause is eradicated, Lilulu will disappear. This is simply an unsolvable dead loop. Thinking of this, Nobi Daichi no longer thinks about these messy things and takes one step at a time. Maybe the item to be manufactured this time is a little special. The printed paper even gives the manufacturing time. Looking at the manufacturing time written on the paper, Nobi Daichi knew that it would not be manufactured for a while. Therefore, he let the idea invention machine run alone, and he returned to the second floor room in the real world through the indoor fishing pond. Daichi, what have you been doing? Nobi Daichi just returned to the second floor room and saw Nobita sitting next to the desk. At this time, Nobita turned his head and looked at Nobita after hearing Nobita's footsteps. Go to the mirror world and use the idea invention machine to make new things. Oh. After hearing Nobita's answer, Nobita didn't say anything else. Instead, he turned his head again and looked at the table while his right hand kept shaking. Seeing this scene, Nobita was a little suspicious. Is Nobita studying? Thinking of this, Nobita walked to Nobita's side. Then he patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. He thought Nobita was really studying. It turned out that he was reading comics. However, Nobi Daichi felt a little pity, and he didn't know when Nobita would be able to study hard and make progress every day. Nobita, Daichi, come down to eat. Downstairs, Nobita Tamako shouted to Nobita and Nobita Daichi on the second floor. After hearing what Nobita Tamako said, Nobita Daichi and Nobita naturally went downstairs to eat. After eating, the sun had risen higher, but it was still not noon. In the room on the second floor, Nobita was lying on the tatami reading comics, while Doraemon was sitting and eating dorayaki. As for Nobita Daichi, he was reading a book on the desk. Of course, he was not just reading a book, but also thinking about other things. Ah, that's not right. Suddenly Doraemon shouted, and Nobita and Nobita Daichi looked at Doraemon in the direction of the voice. Doraemon, what's wrong? Nobita was a little angry. He was reading comics happily and suddenly heard Doraemon shouting, which scared him. According to what Judo said, the army of the mechanical utopia will soon invade the Earth. We should tell the country about this news so that they can prepare early. Doraemon said with a sudden realization and a little anxiety. That's right. Nobita also reacted after hearing what Doraemon said. Nobi Daichi was a little speechless. Even if you tell the country, they will just think you are joking. Who would believe such a thing said by a 10-year-old child? However, Nobita Daichi did not stop Nobita and Doraemon from doing what they wanted to do. Call and tell the country about the crisis that the Earth is about to face. Nobita followed Doraemon and hurried downstairs. The result was obvious. Nobita and Doraemon soon returned to the room on the second floor. No one believes it at all, Nobita said dejectedly. Yes. Doraemon also echoed dejectedly. Then are we just waiting for the army of the mechanical utopia to invade the Earth? Nobita said with some fear. Doraemon, take out Judo. We can ask it some questions. It's always good to know more. Just when Nobita and Doraemon were a little desperate, Nobi Daichi spoke. Oh. Doraemon heard Nobi Daichi's words and hurriedly took Judo out of his 4-dimensional pocket. Judo, how long will it take for the mechanical utopia army to arrive on Earth? Nobi Daichi walked from the desk to Judo and said. At present, the mechanical utopia army has not set off yet. This. Nobita and Doraemon looked at each other with some confusion in their eyes. Did they worry for nothing? Thank you readers for the 2 monthly tickets for Peak Alone Drinking. Flying Falcon, Sun 3 Sounds, Program Sublimation Key. Chapter 124 Lulu arrives. Because the captain of the robot of the mechanical utopia sent a pioneer to the Earth to get information in advance. Hearing this, Nobita and Doraemon understood and became scared at the same time. Looking at Nobita and Doraemon who were shocked, Nobi Daichi felt a little speechless, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was quite normal. Then do you know who sent the person? Doraemon asked. I know. Who? Nobita also spoke immediately. Lululu. Lululu. Nobita and Doraemon showed puzzled expressions on their faces at the same time. Seeing this scene, Nobi Daichi couldn't help but hold his forehead. Because sometimes knowing too much is not a good thing. Doraemon, you should take judo back first. No matter what, if the sky falls, there will be someone taller to hold it up. We don't need to worry about these for the time being. Okay. Doraemon had no choice but to walk to judo and put judo into the 4-dimensional pocket. Then Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon started to do their own things. It was soon noon. After lunch, Nobi Daichi and Nobita took a nap because they had classes in the afternoon. Ding ling ling, stand up. Hello, teacher. Students, please take a seat. After putting down his school bag and taking out his textbooks, Nobi Daichi heard the bell for class, and at the same time, the teacher, Izuru Ichiro, walked in from outside the classroom. Under the leadership of the class monitor, Izuki Suji, Nobi Daichi, Nobita and others stood up and greeted Izuru Ichiro. It was soon time to go home from school. Today was the day when Nobi Daichi and Nobita cleaned the classroom. Fat Tiger and Sunia stood on the podium and laughed. Suddenly, Sunia threw a ball of waste paper in front of Nobita. Nobita, did you find the robot as tall as a building you mentioned? Of course I found it. Nobita, who was sweeping the floor with a broom, stopped and said without showing any weakness. Because he really found the robot as tall as a building, the Santa warrior, he was full of confidence when he spoke. Haha, Nobita is bragging again. After hearing what Nobita said, Sunia and Fat Tiger couldn't help laughing. But Sunia stopped laughing quickly and said, Nobita, you are just talking. If you have the guts, come to the open space tonight and bring the robot as tall as a building that you said. Let us see it, and we will believe it. Otherwise, you are just bragging. Bring it. Nobita said unwillingly. Nobi Daichi, who was cleaning the corner, heard the conversation between Sunia and Nobita and wanted to stop them. But it was too late, because Nobita had already said it. Nobita had no choice but to continue cleaning the floor, as if nothing had happened. After cleaning the classroom, Nobita went home. Nobita's house, second floor room. On the tatami, Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon were sitting opposite each other. Nobita, how could you agree to Sunia? Doraemon looked at Nobita with a look of disappointment. What can I do? It's all Sunia's fault for bullying others too much. Nobita was a little ashamed at first, but when he heard what Doraemon said, he was unhappy and directly refuted. Sunia said you didn't say enough, just bear with it. Nobi Daichi complained. Of course, this is just Nobita's inner thoughts, he will not say such words. Nobita, do you know that, if you take the Santa Samurai out, it will cause a big impact even at night? Doraemon stopped talking after saying this, because he didn't know what to do now. After hearing what Doraemon said, Nobita lowered his head and seemed to think that he was a little rash. It's true that it won't work in the real world, but, looking at Nobita and Doraemon, who both looked unhappy, Nobi Daichi spoke. Hearing Nobi Daichi's words, Doraemon's eyes lit up, and he seemed to understand what Nobi Daichi meant. We can bring Sunia and Fat Tiger to the mirror world and let them watch the Santa Samurai in the mirror world. Nobita, who had been lowering his head, suddenly raised his head. At this time, there was no disappointment on his face, and he had already replaced it with an eager expression. Then let's do it this way. How about I go and inform them now? No, it's a bit troublesome. We can go to the open space at night and take them directly to the mirror world. Nobi Daichi suggested. Then, okay. Nobita didn't want to exercise in the first place, and he agreed directly after hearing Nobi Daichi's words. With the help of the detector in his hand, after another flight, Lululu successfully arrived at her destination from the Arctic continent, at Tsukimide in Nerima District, Tokyo, Japan. What puzzled her was that when she arrived at this place, the detector could not detect anything, because the signal disappeared. There was no way she could only search in this place while sending the latest news back to the mechanical utopia through the communication instrument and to the captain of the robots in the mechanical utopia. She flew over and walked through one after another, but did not find the giant robot. Where is it? Lululu was puzzled. After passing by and flying over one house after another, she flew to the yard of Nobita's house. At this time, Nobita Tamako was sitting in the living room busy with something. Nobita Tamako looked at Lulu outside the French window, stopped what she was doing, and looked at Lulu. This girl. After observing Nobita's house through the French window, Lulu said bluntly, "It's too small, it can't be here." Then Lulu flew away. Nobita Tamako, who was confused, was unhappy after hearing Lulu's words. "What does my house have to do with you if it's small?" But Lulu had already flown away from the yard and couldn't hear what Nobita Tamako said at all. Nobi Daichi, who was about to go back to his desk to do his homework, looked at the figure flying past the window and was startled. "Is that Lulu?" Then Nobi Daichi simply walked to the window, wanting to take a closer look and confirm it at the same time. But to his disappointment, he could no longer see the figure flying past the window. It should be Lulu, after all. Who else can fly besides her? And the clothes she's wearing are similar to the original. Thinking back to the figure he had just seen, Nobita murmured, "Dazzy, what's wrong with you? Is there anything outside the window?" While Nobita was talking to himself, Nobita had already walked to the window. Looking at Nobita, who was stunned beside him, Nobita said something casually. Then Nobita opened the window, stuck his head out, and looked around. "Nothing!" Exclamation mark. After hearing what Nobita said, Nobita immediately woke up. "I didn't see anything. Maybe I saw it wrong." Nobita smiled. "Oh." Then Nobita went back to read the comics. Chapter 125 Robot Factory. After returning to the desk again, Nobi Daichi quickly finished his homework while thinking about what to do next. Suddenly, Nobi Daichi stopped writing and drawing. Because he remembered the idea invention machine that was making props in the mirror world. The indoor fishing pond had been taken back by Doraemon into the 4-dimensional pocket, so Nobi Daichi had to ask Doraemon for the indoor fishing pond again. After laying the indoor fishing pond on the floor, Nobi Daichi was about to go in when he was stopped by Doraemon. "Dazzy, I'll go with you too." Nobi Daichi naturally had no objection, but after seeing Doraemon follow, Nobita also followed. Then Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon entered the mirror world together through the indoor fishing pond. Nobi Daichi, Nobita and Doraemon came to the idea invention machine one by one. At this time, the idea invention machine had already stopped working, and next to the idea invention machine was a palm-sized silver prop. Doraemon walked to the props made by the idea invention machine, picked up the props, looked at them over and over again, but couldn't figure out anything. "Dazzy, what is this for?" Seeing that he couldn't figure it out, Doraemon had to ask Nobi Daichi. After taking the props made by the idea invention machine from Doraemon's hand, Nobi Daichi pretended to be mysterious. "You will know if you follow me." Then he took the lead and flew to a remote place. Doraemon and Nobita were about to follow Nobita Daichi, but unexpectedly Nobita Daichi flew back again. Dazzy, what do you mean?" Nobita touched his head and didn't understand. Nobita Daichi smiled awkwardly at Nobita, then turned to Doraemon and said, "Doraemon, can your door be used in the mirror world?" "In principle, it can be used." Doraemon thought for a while before saying, "Then take it out. I'll use it." Then Doraemon took out a pink anywhere door from his 4-dimensional pocket. Although from the outside, it is no different from the anywhere door Doraemon used before. But in fact, the anywhere door Doraemon bought is much better than the previous anywhere door. The biggest difference between the anywhere door Doraemon bought and the old anywhere door is that the number of uses per day is no longer limited to once, but unlimited. Of course, the moving distance each time is still 10 light years. I don't know if there are only pink anywhere doors, or Doraemon just likes pink anywhere doors. Nobi Daichi complained in his heart. Then he walked to the side of the anywhere door that Doraemon had placed on the ground, holding the handle, thinking about where he wanted to go. Click. Looking at the scene behind the anywhere door, Nobi Daichi was silent. Doraemon and Nobita standing next to him were also stunned. Because after Nobi Daichi opened the anywhere door was just like an ordinary door, and there was no change behind the door. That's really weird. Doraemon walked to the side of the anywhere door, circled around it for a few times, and then stopped, because he couldn't figure out what it was. Then Doraemon put the anywhere door back into his 4-dimensional pocket. Watching Doraemon put the anywhere door back into his 4-dimensional pocket, Nobi Daichi thought, what went wrong? When I have time, I'll go back to the future department store to ask about the situation. Doraemon said angrily because he suspected that he had bought a fake. Although there are almost no such things in the future department store, it is not absolute. Of course, it is also possible that the future department store was negligent, but no matter what, it is always the future department store's fault. Suddenly, Nobi Daichi's mind flashed. He suddenly thought of a possibility and thought of a setting in the original work, that is, the anywhere door can only be used in general time and space and cannot be used in the world created by the props. If it's right, it seems that this is the reason. Nobi Daichi said secretly. No way. Nobi Daichi could only put on the bamboo dragonfly and fly in one direction again. Nobita and Doraemon, who were behind Nobita, followed after seeing it. Nobita stopped after flying a long distance and almost out of sight of Nobita's house. At this time, he, Doraemon, and Nobita had already arrived at a dense forest. After stopping behind a stone several meters high, Nobita placed the silver white box in his hand on the ground. Then the box quickly took root in the ground. A few seconds later, a huge factory appeared in front of Nobita, and Doraemon. Robot factory. Robot factory, manufactured by the idea invention machine. It can automatically collect resources to manufacture robots, but the robots manufactured will have various restrictions due to reasons such as level. Looking at the huge robot factory in front of him, Nobita nodded with satisfaction. Nobita and Doraemon behind him had already been stunned. Nobita knew that Doraemon and Nobita must have a lot of questions now. Instead of waiting for them to ask, it is better to ask them first, and it will save trouble. This is a factory for making robots. But he couldn't explain it clearly for a while, so he could only tell Doraemon and Nobita about the overall function of this factory. Doraemon was a little ashamed after hearing what Nobita said. Why didn't he think of this method? Then he took the lead to walk into the factory. As for the other conditions of the factory, Nobita and Doraemon would know the general situation after entering the factory. Seeing that Nobita had already entered the factory, Nobita and Doraemon followed Nobita closely and walked into the factory. When Nobita entered the factory, he was also shocked by the huge space inside the robot factory. The space inside the robot factory was much larger than he thought, with a length and width of hundreds of meters and a height of dozens of meters. In this huge factory, he saw several large pipes inserted into the ground. Nobita estimated that those pipes should be used to collect minerals and other resources. Nobita just glanced at those large pipes and stopped paying attention. At this time, he had come to a round mouth where the finished product was produced. After Nobita and Doraemon entered the factory, they were still shocked, but Nobita Daichi had already given them a shot of prevention. Therefore, after a short period of surprise, Nobita and Doraemon returned to normal. At this time, after a short period of surprise, Nobita and Doraemon were left with only a strong curiosity in their hearts. After looking at the general situation of the interior space of the robot factory, Nobita and Doraemon also walked to the side of Nobita Daichi. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.